All right, guys. Well, I think we're ready to get started. Now, the first thing I'd like to talk about tonight is I basically the point of this demonstration is to show you the dice system in action, to give you a tutorial, to give you a chance to engage with the dice system yourself. If you've not already got the dice, they're over on the wall in the landing zone, so you can just go over and get them for yourself. There's actually 3 different rollers. Each of them come with a verifier, which you also have to equip to your character. There is the... let me check real quick. There is the action roller, which is your all-purpose dice. Okay, so anytime you pair an attribute with an ability, or sometimes you'll pair an attribute with a virtue, especially in cases where you're resisting rolls during Intrigue, you're going to want to roll for action. Okay, so that's number 1. The initiative roller is a little bit different. The only thing the initiative roller does is it rolls 1 10-sided dice and it adds the modifier that you input. Okay, so when you're rolling for initiative, you add your wits alertness. So if I have a wits 2 and alertness of 2, I would add in 4. So just for the initiative dice, I would click on roll for initiative and just put in a 4, and it would automatically roll 1d10 and add 4 to it. So that gives me my initiative number. Super easy, super intuitive. Exactly. So Magon just rolled it with a buff of 4, and he got a result of 11. So that means on his D10, he rolled a 7. It added a 4. He has an 11. Now, initiative is that's something you're only ever going to use in combat. Intrigue does not have initiative because Intrigue is usually just one-on-one. Maybe later we'll expand the system to account for group intrigues, possibly. That's something I've been looking at, but it's not something that's officially sanctioned yet. For now, we're just doing the one-on-one. The third dice roller is the soak and damage. Now, it just says soak on the HUD, but it's actually soak and damage. Now, the difference between the roll for soak and roll for action is that ones don't subtract from successes in the soak roller, okay? And that's very important. So you don't want to be rolling for actions with your soak dice or your damage dice. So as according to the dice HUD, it says, roll for soak and damage. So that's what you're going to be using it for most of the time. There are some qualities that let you roll where ones don't subtract from successes, in which case you can roll with the soak and damage roller. All right. But anyway, that's a general overview of the dice rollers that we have. They're not very pretty yet. Ray and I were talking about maybe doing a different HUD, something very Game of Thrones themed. But for now, it's functional. It's kind of our beta version of dice. Okay, so basically, before we get started, I'd like to give you a general tutorial on the dice system. Just break it down exactly what it is and what it does. Now, all of this is explained on the website, so you can review later if you ever, get stuck or you're like, oh, what was that? What was he talking about? Yeah, it's all on the dice, or it's all on the website. A lot of people, well, maybe not a lot of people, but a couple people have mentioned that they've forgotten to click directly on the buttons at the top of the, on like the website menu. Some people have been only clicking on the drop-down menu. That's actually, you don't want to do that. There's also other pages directly on those buttons. So you click directly on the warrior. That'll take you to the basic dice system tutorial. So let's get started with that. The first thing to understand in this dice system, and it's the most important principle, it's super easy, is that every time you make a roll, it keys off of one of the traits on your character sheet. Okay, so super easy. Basically, you pair an attribute with an ability, and that is how many dice you roll. Each dice turn up a number between 1 and 10. Now, the object of the roll is to get successes. Okay, so every dice that turn up a certain number or higher, that's considered a success. And you want to get as many successes as possible on a roll. That's your goal. Now, we know whether individual dice are a success through a difficulty number. Okay, so this is a number that we set that basically gauges how difficult what you're trying to accomplish is. This is a number anywhere between 3 and, at very, very, very extreme examples, 10. Usually, however, most actions will be at 6, at a difficulty of 6. So that's the important thing to remember. Yeah, no problem, Matthews. We'll get Ray on to help you out. Anyway, like I said, the dice system breaks down into pools of dice that are comprised of your attributes with your abilities. Sometimes you'll pair an attribute with a virtue. So when you're resisting somebody, like someone's trying to seduce your character, right, during an intrigue, so you're going to resist with your composure and your temperance. So temperance is one of your virtues. And that is actually what makes the intrigue system kind of interesting, because there's a wide variety of abilities, attributes, and virtues involved in the intrigue system, depending on how you're coming at your opponent. It's not like there's just one or two traits that you can raise and then you're a god at intrigue. It just really depends on the type of exchange you're using. And an exchange is like a weapon. It's like how you're coming at your opponent in an intrigue. So if you're trying to seduce them, that is a type of exchange. If you're trying to bargain with them, that's another type of exchange. It all just kind of depends on the context of the intrigue. Now, we've got the basic concept. Actually, no, before I move forward, does anybody have any questions on like the basics of dice rolling? And if you don't want to talk over voice, feel free to like type.
I do think that it's important to note that when you're actually typing in the physical number, you type in your dice pool in the action box. There's the first number you type is your dice pool, so it's your ability and your attribute, and then you have to put a comma. Then you put in your difficulty.
That's correct. And you can also add in a reason for the roll. So, for example, I'll make a roll now. So let's say Arian is going to roll to attack, and I'm not going to be using my Arian's actual stats, but let's say for a second Arian has 2 dexterity and 2 melee. Okay, so that would be a dice pool of 4 to swing his sword. So we would put 4, comma, difficulty is 6 standard for a standard attack, and then you could type in a reason for the roll. Okay, and I'll just post that here in Discord. That is literally just what I typed into the dialog box. And then you hit submit, boom. So what you're going to get is 2, let's see, there we go. So you've got a verifier and a dice roller. Now, if we see on my roll, it says Arian Targaryen has rolled for melee swing and gotten 6, 7, 8, 9 with a difficulty of level 6. Of those rolls, 4 have succeeded. So that's a monster roll. Basically, every dice that I rolled came up a success because I got a 6, 7, 8, and 9. So basically, every dice that turned up a 6 or higher is considered a success. So that's a really accurate hit. So let's say the thing is, you only need 1 success to hit someone. So all the additional successes you get on an attack roll over into damage. So they just add to your damage pool. Your damage pool is usually the damage of your weapon plus your strength. So let's say I've got a longsword, that's a damage of 2, and my strength, let's say my strength is 2, that's a base damage of 4 dice I'm rolling at someone when I'm rolling damage. However, because my hit was so accurate, I can add 3 more dice into that pool, because I only needed 1 to hit the person, and I've got 4 successes on my attack. So those extra dice go directly into my damage pool. So I'm going to roll damage now, and that's basically just 4 plus 3, so 7 total. And another thing to note is difficulty is almost always 6 on damage and soak. There are some qualities, some modifiers that can raise or lower this number. For example, Valyrian Steel rolls damage on difficulty 5. But other than those rare occasions, you'll usually roll damage and soak at 6. So I roll 7, 6, and then add in lethal damage. So we hit submit. Oh, terrible roll. Okay, so I only got one success on that roll. But you notice that the ones don't cancel out. Now, normally, if this was a normal roll, I would have gotten 0 successes because the ones would have obliterated any successes that I normally got. However, because this is damage and soak, you don't cancel successes with ones. So, but still, I only got 1 success. And you usually want to type in that is the soak and damage roll. So you roll for action with the attack, and you roll for soak and damage when you're deciding damage. Now, what is soak? Soak is essentially when you're trying to reduce damage that someone has dealt to you. Now, you can reduce damage with your stamina if the damage is bashing. If your character's super tough, and you get hit with a mace, you can try and shrug some of that off, unless you get hit in the head, and then it deals lethal damage. Now, let's say Arian is fighting Magon. Magon, let's say you've got an armor rating of 3. Okay, so you can only soak lethal damage with your armor rating, and that's the important thing to note. You can't include your stamina in soak rolls against lethal damage, because it doesn't matter how tough you are. If you get stabbed, you just got stabbed. So, Magon, you just got stabbed for 1 lethal damage. Go ahead and try and resist that with your armor. Let's say you've got an armor rating of 3. So go ahead and roll 3 dice on your soak at difficulty 6. Okay, so perfect. So he got 1 success, and that cancels out my 1 success of damage that I dealt to him. Okay, so he doesn't take any damage on Arian's attack. So basically, the way we would roleplay this out is that Arian swung at him, and he hit him, but his armor absorbed most of it, and it turned into kind of a glancing blow. And then we're rocking and rolling, we're moving right along, and it would be Magon's turn in this case. But that's the basics of kind of combat. There are provisos and modifiers when it comes to combat. For example, if you have a certain amount of points in melee, you can aim at different parts of the body. That's all covered in the combat section. So there's like strikes at limbs, legs, and arms that can have an effect on someone. So if you hit someone in the leg, it's at +1 difficulty to attack them there. But if you do at least a level of damage to them, they suffer a difficulty to all their dodge attempts for the rest of the fight. So if you've got an opponent who's really moving around and really dodging a lot, you can aim at their leg, and it'll be a little bit tougher to hit them. But if you do hit them, they're going to suffer a dice penalty. I believe it's like 1 dice. It's either difficulty or a dice penalty. I forget which on that.
And a lot of you ladies might be thinking, well, how does this apply to me? I'm not a fighter. This applies to you if you have a lackey that's a bodyguard and you get attacked.
Exactly.
You're going to have to roll for your bodyguard.
Right, and that's why it's important that everybody on the sim know how the combat system works. You're able to fight because you are going to have lackeys, probably. You're going to have bodyguards following you around, protecting you, and it's your responsibility to roleplay your bodyguard or your lackey. So it's important that everybody understands how combat works. Now on Intrigue is and back to basics real quick. If we could just dial this back to the basics of rolling on sim. There is the order of actions. Okay, so we're gonna what's the difference between verified dice? Okay, so yeah, when you have the verified HUD equipped, it makes sure that you're using that dice roller and you're not just like copying and pasting. Yes, exactly. So it's important to have the dice roller and the verifier both equipped while you're doing your rolling. Okay, so yeah, back to basics. The real basics of rolling dice is the order of actions. Okay, guys, so you really want to drill this into your mind in terms of when you're rolling dice. The order of actions is just 3 simple steps. It's declare, roll, describe. Okay, so if you're going to roll up and declare on somebody, that's the term, you're declaring on them. You're declaring either an attack, a physical attack, or you're declaring an intrigue, so an engage. Now that's the first step. Now that causes everybody who's like just rocking and rolling, enjoying their role play, and then suddenly you go out of character and you declare an engage. that is going to immediately get that player's attention. They have to address it because, yes, exactly. Megan is going to engage combat with Arian. Now, you might want to be a little bit more specific than that. Your declaration is like, in this case, Megan might be like, Megan is going to punch Arian in the face. That would be a little bit more specific. You don't want to get too general. Basically, you're declaring exactly what you intend to do. So at that moment, I would have to address that because that is, Megan's player saying to me, hey, this is happening now. So you got to get ready. So at that point, we would resolve the dice rolling. Okay. And then once we see the story the dice are telling, boom, we're back in character and we're describing it. Okay. There's no point in describing something before you see the results of the dice. You can do a halvesy roll. So where you Megan, for example, he might declare on me and then post himself like attempting to punch me in the face. And then we could roll. That's called a halvesy post. That's okay too. You can do that. But yeah, the order of actions are very important. So just so you don't get like turned around and people are posting in out of order, and then because there's no point in posting what you do before we see the story the dice are telling. And that is another thing to point out in terms of the dice system is you always want to sell for the people you're playing with. I kind of talk about this every time we talk about role playing and dice, but it's so important. That's why I bring it up every time. Selling. It's very important to put over in your post that corresponds to what the dice are saying. Okay, so for Megan, who was responding to my attack, let's say earlier, I got 4 successes on that attack. That was a direct hit. But I only did, not a lot of damage, and his armor deflected most of it. So that right there tells us what we would post in our description. So he can post, I can post getting a direct hit on him, but then boom, when it's Megan's turn, he can post something like moving out of the way and, getting his shoulder in the way, and it, his armor deflected it, etc. So selling is a very important part of roleplay. You want to show appropriate fear. You want to show appropriate reactions to people's skill. And yes, exactly. Armor luckily deflected most of the blows. He turned to respond to Arian's attack. That's perfect. Yes. So in conclusion on the basic tutorial of the dice system, every dice is essentially a D10. Okay, so it's a number between 1 and 10. Ones in normal rolls will cancel out successes, and a success is any dice that meets or exceeds the difficulty number. And that's it. Your dice pool, how many dice you roll, is decided by your character sheet. So an attribute paired with an ability, or an attribute paired with a virtue. So with that tutorial kind of out of the way, we'll move right on to Intrigue. So far, let me stop real quick. Does anybody have any questions so far as to what I'm talking about, or if I totally lost everybody?
It's definitely a lot of info all at once.
Just because I just kind of sat back down and missed like the first half. For melee, is it? I'm guessing it's like your strength plus your melee ability.
That would be my dexterity plus my melee. So you use dexterity to apply a hit, and you use your strength to apply damage.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, I know it's a lot of info, guys. It's kind of an info dump, actually. But don't worry, I've prepared characters for everybody to play tonight. We have sample characters. I'll call them tutorial characters. And we're going to engage in some role play. We're going to do some examples, and we're going to play out some scenes and that involve dice. So you guys will get a chance to, do some posting, do some dice rolling, and everybody can kind of see how the dice work in action.
And on a normal day, are you guys going to have people who are around in case we have any questions come up in the middle of role play?
Yes, absolutely. We're basically, you can just message an admin or an owner at any time. Even if I'm not on Second Life, you can message me on Discord. If you can't find either an admin or an owner to help you out, you can put the scene on hold until one of us, does come online and you can talk to them, because you do have, a right to have an admin or an owner there, especially if it's an important scene that could result in the death of your character, just to make sure that the math kind of shakes out. And since everyone's character sheets are going to be posted publicly in their profiles, that allows you guys to kind of police each other and make sure that, your opponent is using the correct dice pool. Because accidents do happen. I'm not saying everybody tries to cheat, but accidents do happen. You might use, one or two or more or less dice than you should be using. So whenever you engage in combat with somebody, it's not a bad idea to pull up their character sheet and just kind of look at what they're rolling with, because otherwise they might, forget, or they might try to put one over on you. Not that any of you guys would do that. Okay. Any other questions so far?
No questions, but I am here, and that's proof that accidents do happen.
Okay, guys. So the third and last thing I want to talk about is Intrigue. Intrigue is social combat. Okay, so this is the revolutionary idea for our sim. A lot of other sims have combat systems. They're really terrible, but they do have combat systems. No one's ever really done an Intrigue system as far as I'm aware of. I think it's a really great tool to basically move the story forward in a way that we might not expect. It's also a really great way to bring out social characters and finally give them some gravitas, finally give them some agency and some power in the story. Because a lot of times you get in a situation where you're role-playing and the people involved in the role-play, they want to protect their character, and that's only natural. Sometimes you get like a good player who doesn't mind letting go a little bit and is like willing to roll with it, and it's like, okay, yeah, sure, maybe that happens. Okay, so I'll post to that. More often than not, though, you do get players who are just like, no, my character wouldn't talk to you. He's busy right now. He doesn't know you. Go away. And there's kind of nothing you can do about a situation like that, unless, of course, you're playing on Valar Morghulis. Because you can co-op and you can engage other characters, and you can, you don't want to just engage another character for no reason. You do want to have a reason why you're engaging them in an intrigue. And that's very important to talk about the components of an intrigue, which is an exchange and a goal. Okay, so when you go up and engage someone with an intrigue, you're essentially declaring your intention to engage them. Okay, so you're saying, Arian is going to engage Magon with a bargain intrigue. So bargain would be the exchange being used here. And I would say, with the goal of getting Magon to give me all the money in his pocket. Something like that. Yes, exactly. Magon wants to intrigue with Arian about a bargain for more allowance. Okay, that's almost perfect, Magon. You do want to include the exchange, so like the specific type of exchange, which is the bargain in that case. Or you could go differently. You could maybe do a charm intrigue for that. So you're like kind of trying to charm Arian out of it. That's totally possible too. But it's really important to specify, first of all, what you want, what your goal is in the intrigue, and second of all, what your exchange is that you're using. Exchanges are the heart of intrigue. Like, without that, we don't know what to roll. Okay. So basically, when you roll up on somebody, not literally, metaphorically, so if you walk up on somebody and you're ready to declare an exchange, okay, so you've got somebody in front of you, you wanted to engage them in an intrigue, you go out of character, and you do this in public chat, right? And I'm sorry, I didn't mention that. All declarations have to be in public chat. Don't private message somebody with a declaration. Just keep it out in the open, above board, so everybody can see it. Because everybody in the scene needs to know what's going on. So you go out of character and you declare an intrigue. The first thing you need to do is engage them. Okay, so the engage roll is the same every time. Basically, it is your roll that you're doing for the type of exchange you're doing. So seduction is the most popular one, like what kind of most people think when they think intrigue. At least I do. So you would roll manipulation subterfuge, which is the basis of your seduction exchange. And this is all listed on the website. There's a big list of exchanges. But seduction is manipulation subterfuge. And you would roll that at a difficulty of your target's composure plus their etiquette. Okay? So if you're the person you're targeting is really, really composed and really, really knowledgeable on etiquette, that enables them to brush your character off in a social situation a little bit more easy, right? So if you roll against them and you get no successes, that is an unsuccessful engage. You cannot attempt to engage that character for the rest of the scene. You basically have to wait until another scene is being played when you can attempt to engage them to get your intrigue going. This kind of prevents players from spamming each other with engages. Like you can only engage somebody once in a scene, whether it's successful or not. So if you fail to engage, you just got to wait till next time. So let's say I'm trying to engage, let's do Megon. Let's see Megon's trying to engage me. Now, let's say Arian's combined composure and etiquette. Oh my god, I lost it there for a second. The composure and etiquette. Let's say Arian's combined composure and etiquette is 6. I've got 3 composure and 3 etiquette. So that means he would be rolling the engage roll at a difficulty of 6.
How would status figure into all that? Or is that
status does figure into intrigues, but it's not. The status does not affect engages.
Gotcha.
So I will say that. No, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Status does affect engages for the purposes of rolling to engage. So if you're engaging somebody and you have a higher status, that does apply as bonus dice to your roll. So let's say, Lady Foxton, who has a status of 5, is engaging a peasant with a status of 1. So that means on her engage roll, she gets the difference as bonus dice to her engage roll. So she gets 4 extra dice to engage the peasant. This is because people of higher status are harder to ignore at court. So if Lady Foxton rolls up on a peasant and she's a small folk and she's like, you need to go do something for me, the small folk is not going to be like, get the fuck out of here. I don't know who you are. she's Lady Foxton, right? You can't ignore her. However, if Lady Foxton tries to engage a noble that's higher than her in the status, she doesn't get bonus dice to her roll because the noble is using their rank as kind of protection. But anyway.
Sorry, real fast, Arian. You said resist was composure and etiquette, right?
You don't actively roll your composure and etiquette. That's just the difficulty of the engage roll.
Oh, okay. Because I'm trying to make myself a little cheat sheet here.
Yeah, no problem. And by the way, guys, I am going to be writing around cheat sheets for combat and intrigue on note cards, just so you guys don't have to constantly reference the website. Those aren't done yet, but that's definitely a plan that I want, to everybody have like very useful kind of cheat sheets.
Oh, cool. Then I'll let you write it for me.
Yeah. Just like I said, so you guys don't have to keep referencing the website. Okay. So let's set up a sample scenario. Let's say that Megon is trying to charm Arian into giving him more money. Okay. So what we see, and I'll just copy and paste the charm exchange from the website. So that'll be right here in the Saturday demo chat. Okay, so there we go. So charm is, as we can see, the influence is charisma expression. Now, influence is the person who's, doing the engaging, the person trying to charm me. They're rolling charisma plus expression to do it. I have to resist it by my wits and wisdom, okay? And it gives you some example goals you can do, like curry favor, you can persuade, you can ingratiate. In this case, let's say Megon is trying to persuade Arian with the charm engage, right? So there's a little description of what charm does for you generally. But go ahead and roll the engage roll, Megon. And that would be a difficulty of Arian's, composure and etiquette. So let's say that's 6. So go ahead and roll your charisma and your expression at a difficulty of 6.
This is gonna be a low roll, boys.
Magon's a fighter. Perfect. You got 1 success. Okay, so a 3 and an 8. Wow, really? Only 2 dice? Do you have any expression, Magon?
Nope.
Okay.
Megan, I'm with you in that boat, buddy.
Okay, guys. So actually, that's a perfect time to bring it up. Okay, what happens if I don't have any points in the ability I'm rolling? What happens if I've just got 2 charisma and I don't have any expression? Well, the way it works is that in talents, you can just make the roll like normal. So, for example, if Magon was trying to roll a talent, in the case of as expression, I believe expression is a talent, right? I could be wrong. Maybe it's a skill. Let me see. Yeah, expression is a talent. Okay, so Magon can make that roll at no penalty, no additional difficulty. It's a talent, right? It's something that you do kind of intuitively. So he can just roll his charisma at, the standard difficulty, or the difficulty to engage me in this case, which is 6. Now, if he tried to roll, like, say, a skill, and he doesn't, like, let's say he tries to ride a horse and he needs to roll dexterity ride, but he has no ride, he has to make the roll at a +1 difficulty. Okay, so when you try to roll a skill that you have no skill in, it's +1 difficulty. So if he tried to swing a sword at somebody and he has no melee, I'm pretty sure he does, but if he had no melee, he would be at +1 difficulty. Now, if he tried to roll a knowledge with no points in the knowledge, he cannot even attempt the roll. It's considered an automatic failure. You cannot even attempt to roll a knowledge if you don't know anything about it.
Question.
Sure, go for it.
So, in the case of something like this where it's charisma and expression, is that if you have a 0 in one, or do you have to have a 0 in both?
Well, you will never have a 0 in charisma. Probably never.
I'm saying, but like if you have something where it requires 2 attributes and 2 things, do you have to take the difficulty if only one of them has a 0?
Well, yeah. If you're trying to roll a skill, you always pair a skill with an attribute, and yeah. So you'll never be in a situation where you have to roll 2 attributes or 2 abilities. I don't think that's anywhere in the system, so don't worry about that. You always pair an attribute with an ability, sometimes an attribute with a virtue. But you're kind of seeing the common theme here on your character sheet, right? Like everything stems from your abilities, everything. So everything goes back to who your character is, or your attributes. I'm so sorry. They're 2 similar words, and they can get kind of confusing. But everything goes back to your attributes. Okay, your attributes are everything your character is. That's your strength. That's your intelligence. It's your perception. It's your charisma. It's all the things that make your character who they are. Your abilities are things that your character knows how to do. So that's why abilities tend to be cheaper to raise and experience than attributes, because attributes apply to a lot more roles. So it all stems from your attributes down to either your abilities or your virtues. Now, on a note on willpower, sometimes there are some qualities that will allow you to roll willpower, but you typically don't roll willpower just as a matter of course. Sometimes you can roll willpower, like I said, if you have a quality which allows it, which I think there are a few that do. But usually you won't roll willpower. Okay, so anyway, the thing about the engage is you only need 1 success to engage somebody. You don't need, like, if you roll 5 successes, that's great, but it won't have any mechanical effect on the engage. You just need 1 success. Okay, so Magon did get 1 success on that engage roll. Now we enter into an intrigue. Okay, so we're in a situation where we're role playing, and Magon is he's gonna make his opening post as part of the engage, right? So he's going to post his character coming up to Arian and talking to him like, hey, bro, I was going to go on down to, the pillow house, and, I need a little comfort, and I don't really have enough money to pay the ladies there. So I was wondering if you could spot me a few. And I'm totally taking over your character right now, Megan. So that's a very rough example of him walking up and posting the initial engage.
Sounds very in character.
Sounds very in character. Verily, brother. Exactly. Okay, so that is role-playing the initial engage. And then my character turns and responds, and then we engage in an intrigue. Now, when you're in an intrigue with another character, there is one very important stat to keep in mind. Tymond already mentioned it, willpower. Willpower is the gauge of how long the person engaging you can try and reduce your willpower. So for the defender in an intrigue, your willpower is like your health bar. You can think of it as your health bar. So the entire point of an intrigue is for the person engaging you to use their influence to reduce your willpower. Okay, and their influence is what they're rolling against you during the intrigue. So for the defender, willpower is like a health bar. For the engager, the person who's engaging you in the intrigue, willpower is also important because willpower dictates how many rounds of intrigue they have to try and reduce your willpower to 0. So if Megan, real quick, what's your willpower, buddy?
It is 4.
Okay, perfect. So Megan, once the intrigue has begun, Megan has 4 rolls to try and reduce Arian's willpower to 0 to get what he wants. Okay, and if he manages to reduce Arian's willpower to 0 before the rounds are over, that means that he wins the intrigue. But he only has 4 rounds to try and make that happen because he has 4 willpower. Now let's say Arian has 6 willpower. So that means Megan has to get at least 6 successes on his intrigue rolls in the next 4 rounds. Otherwise, he will lose the intrigue. Now, Arian's not defenseless. He can resist this intrigue with dice of his own. And if we look at what I posted in the charm, we can see that it's resisted by wits and wisdom. Okay, so that is the dice that I'm rolling to resist Megan's influence. So Megan is going to roll charisma expression. Arian is going to roll wits and wisdom. So we're going to have a roll off right now, and we're going to see if Megan can get his money for his booty call tonight. So Megan immediately, he posts the initial engage post, which he already kind of did, and then he's going to roll the first intrigue roll against me. So that's going to be charisma expression, Megan. Go ahead and make that roll. And by the way, standard difficulty, if you don't know what the difficulty is for the roll, it's always 6.
I was going to ask you if that was the difficulty.
Yep, always 6. Unless we're doing an engage.
Yes.
Okay, so 0 successes.
Oh,
so
wait, no.
Yes. Yeah, I was just about to touch in on that, Timon. Arian gets a bonus to his rolls because he has a higher status than Megan. So 0 succeeded. Yeah. So Arian has got a status of 11. He's the king of Westeros, so 10. Plus 1 for being blood of Valyria, so his status is 11. Megan has a status of 9, so he is status 8, member of the royal family. Plus 1. He's the crown prince, so he has a status of 10. 9 normally. Yeah. So you got status 10. So I only have 1 more dice to help me out, but I'm a little bit higher. I mean, I'm the king. He's my younger brother. He's the crown prince, but I do get a bonus dice. Basically, if you have higher status than someone else in an intrigue, you add the difference as bonus dice, both when you're on defense and on offense. So I get plus 1 bonus dice on this roll. Now I'm going to roll wits and wisdom to resist. Now let's say Arian's combined wits and wisdom is let's just say 4 for argument's sake. So I've got 2 wits, 2 wisdom. But I got 1 extra status over Megan, so I get 1 extra dice. So my total dice is 5. So I'm going to roll wits and wisdom to try to resist. I don't have to resist. He didn't get any successes, so I don't even have to roll to resist. But just for the sake of argument. Okay, so we see that if you look back on Magon's roll, he got a 1 and a 9. Now, normally that 9 would be a success, but the 1 canceled out the 9. If we look at my roll, we've got 2, 3, 8, 10, 10. Now, the cool thing about 10s, and this is a great time to talk about the 10 again rule, is every time you get a 10 in a roll and it doesn't get canceled out by a 1, you get to roll that 10 again, right? So I get to roll 2 more dice on this roll. And it's always at the same difficulty. But for the purpose, you might roll, 10 again. Okay, so 2, 6. That's an additional success. So my total in resisting this roll is actually, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 successes total. Because those 10s apply again. You can roll those again. Now, you wouldn't be able to roll those again if a 1 was present in the roll. So basically, like, 1s cancel from the top down. They cancel 10s first. So if I rolled, 1, 1, 10, 9, that would be 0 successes because it's the 2 1s. But let's say I rolled, 1, 2, 9, 10. The 1 cancels the 10 first and not the 9. Okay, so 1s cancel from the top down. That's very important to remember. If you have a 10 that is not canceled by a 1, you get to roll that again. If you have a specialty and you roll a 10, that 10 counts as 2 successes. Okay? So if we look at my roll, I've got 3, 8, 10, 10. That was or 2, 3, 8, 10, 10. That was my roll. If I had a specialty in, say, wits, that would make those 10s count as 2 successes each. Okay, so instead of 3 successes, that would actually be 5 successes because those 10s are 2 successes each because of my specialty. And that's why specialties are so, so good. Specialties can allow your rolls to really explode really quickly into a lot of successes, as long as those 10s don't get canceled out. Okay, so we've used up the first round of this intrigue. We got 3 left, because remember, Magon only has 4 willpower, so he's got 4 rounds to make this happen. He hasn't reduced any of my willpower yet, but hang in there. Go ahead, Magon. Roll your 2 dice, buddy. Let's roll for Poontang. All right, he's got 1 success. Perfect. And I'm going to roll my 5 dice to resist. Okay, no success. No luck. Now, you guys are very quickly seeing a situation where because Magon has so few dice, he only has 1 or 2 dice. If you're down in a dice pool where you've only got between 1 and 3 dice to roll, the chances of success are a lot slimmer, guys, because that is fewer chances for 10s to turn up. That's fewer chances for 10s to roll again. If you get 2 characters that both have really high dice pools, we're talking between 7 to 10 dice in their pool, and they're rolling off against each other, that can really swing very quickly. That really all comes down to the dice. Magon, however, he's in a really tough spot because he only has 2 dice on his influence. He doesn't have a lot of rounds to try and convince me, so he needs to basically work on his intrigue if he's gonna get anywhere with me. But yeah, let's see. My successes reduced his successes, so he's still making no headway. One more time, Magon. You can always roll 10s, and since 10s explode, you never know what'll happen. But more often than not, I think maybe Magon is going to have to be alone tonight. Okay, we got another success. Okay, I'm holding strong. Got a couple 10s there. So I've already reduced his successes to 0, but we'll just roll the 10s again just for funsies. Okay, I got 1 more success on the 10 again. Yeah, exactly. Like I can just give him the money, right? So if Arian does, like in character, Arian doesn't want to give Magon any more money. He's just like, no, you've already had, you've already gone out like 5 times this week. I'm not giving you any more money. And that's another important thing to point out with the intrigue system, guys. The intrigue system takes a backseat to roleplay if you just want to roleplay the scene. If you just want to play it out where Arian or Magon comes up to Arian and Arian like is going to give him the money anyway, you don't have to do the intrigue, right? The intrigue is just in a situation to resolve a conflict in character. So if you have one character who doesn't want to do something and another character who wants to make that character do something, that is when we get into an intrigue situation. And what's cool about this is we can kind of just, rock and roll along in our role play like we normally do. But then when you have somebody declare an intrigue on someone, then things get a little spicier because the scene is about to take a turn. Yeah. Yes, exactly, Nicole.
And remember, guys, normally in a normal intrigue situation, we would be role-playing in between our roles.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's also something to point out. For the purposes of this demonstration we're just rolling dice. But you need to pepper like at the end of every round. So a round is when I roll and Magon rolls. You would post the conversation, okay? So you're posting description in addition to the dice. Yes, exactly. So Katori's got it perfect. On other sims, if you come asking me for money and I said no, that's it. There's nothing you can do. You're not getting the money. I said no. But on Valar Morghulis, there is a system. I have a character sheet just like you with the same amount of points. And you can try and engage me with an intrigue. Now, I'm going to be a little harder to convince because I'm the king, because I have a hell of a lot more money to give you. But you never know. You really never know. It really comes down to how good you are in intrigue. And also,
you might have better luck getting money from a Lannister.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how low your status is compared to my status.
That also depends on.
I've seen some of these Lannister character sheets. I don't know about that statement.
Yeah, some of them Lannisters are really, really good.
Somebody just got called out.
But anyway, guys. So yeah, basically, we can do one more roll if you want, Magon. So we got one more round left. Maybe you can get 6 successes in a single roll, and I'll get nothing.
Stop! You're killing him!
Oh, am I rolling again?
Yep. One last time, buddy. Because you got 4 willpower. So you're on your last round. God bless.
You're just
wow.
that worse at this point. He's just
2 successes.
Oh shit.
That actually surprised me.
So you never know. You never know. And if he happened to have a specialty, like the expertise quality, that gives him a specialty even before he has 4 ranks in something. So that's why like specialties can be so powerful, because if he gets a 10, the 10 rolls again and it's 2 successes. Okay, so I'm gonna roll resist. Nope. Dude, my dice are killing it tonight. 9, 9, 10, 10. Absolutely killing it. Wiped him out. Magon, unfortunately, was not able to convince Arian. But that's because Magon, his attributes and his abilities are not very high. He doesn't know anything about expression. He's only got 2 charisma. Now you might get a new. You can look at your character sheet and you can see what you really know and what you don't, and you can pick an exchange based on like your stats. So if you're really good at like manipulation and subterfuge, you're probably gonna use the the deceive engage. Or I'm sorry, the manipulate. It's called manipulate. You can also use seduce with manipulation and subterfuge. So you can manipulate and seduce people if you have really high manipulation and subterfuge. And you can attempt it if you're like, I don't want to pick on Magon too much, but if you're like a Magon and you only have 2 dice, you can still attempt it, but I mean, unless the person you're up against only has like between 2 to 4 dice themselves, it's probably going to be really tough going. Like you're going to have to vote for a Hail Mary to get something to happen. Okay, does anybody have any questions about Intrigue?
Not yet.
I do. About specialties.
Sure.
You said that specialties count as 2 successes when you roll a 10.
When you roll a 10.
That because you re-roll, or is it a 10 is 2 successes, and then if you re-roll and get another success, you've got 3 total?
Correct. So the initial 10, that counts as 2 successes, and you get to re-roll it again.
Okay.
So it counts as 2 successes, plus you get the re-roll. So, theoretically, if you keep rolling 10s, you can rack up a ridiculous amount of successes. So, like, let's say...
I keep re-rolling and I get 5 10s.
Exactly. That's a monster roll.
And is that all specialties, or is there, like, differences between specialties and attributes or abilities? Depending, or is it just a specialty is a specialty is a specialty? A specialty is a specialty is a specialty. Yeah. So there's specialties you can take for all the abilities and all the attributes. And different specialties. Different names meant something, or if they were just flavor.
Oh no, the different names do mean something. Yeah, they do. There are some situations where your specialty won't apply. Okay, so for to use a perfect example, let's go to the strength attribute.
Is that laid out anywhere on the website yet?
Yes, it is.
I must have missed it somewhere.
Yeah, it's on the attribute page. And specialties are also on the abilities page, and specialties are discussed on the maiden page, like the maiden page itself. But what I'm looking at right now is the attributes page. And if we go to strength...
And just for reference, guys, like your strength, for example, if that's what you have your specialty in, it could be in anything, but the ones just listed on the pages are just examples for you.
Right. They just can't be too broad.
I just didn't know if there was like an explanation beyond just what the name is.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, they're obviously a little straightforward, but I know if there's something that says specifically like this type of engagement, this applies. This type of combat action, this applies. Just to make it very clear.
You know, I think I should write an additional page talking about just specialties and situations in which each individual specialty would apply. I think that would be really helpful. But until then, basically, it's just if the specialty description fits for what you're trying to do. So, for example, if my specialty is steel grip, it probably won't apply to damaging you with a sword, right?
But if somebody tries to disarm you, you're not letting go.
Exactly. Now you've got it. Or let's say I tried to grapple you, right? So I ran up and I just tried to grapple you and get you in a clinch. So I'm trying to like grab you. Steel grip would absolutely apply in that case.
Yeah.
But if I've got if I've got rock-like fists, so that would apply to damage when I'm punching you, right? Because my fists are like rocks. But it probably wouldn't apply if I'm damaging you with a sword. What would apply in that case is mighty blows. So if I've got mighty blows as my strength specialty, that's going to apply to damage rolls with weapons.
So if a prostitute takes mighty blows, does that still apply?
God bless. Okay, guys.
Moving on.
Moving on, exactly. Okay, does anybody have any questions so far? Any other questions? Perfect. Okay, it sounds like everybody's good so far. Okay, guys, now we're going to do some fun stuff. We're not just going to listen to Mike talk all night. I've prepared characters here. These are the tutorial characters. You might have read about them on the website. So I want everybody to take a look at this. I'm going to be posting it in the Saturday demo chat channel. Valar Morghulis sample characters, okay? So we've got the lovely Lady Foxton, our manipulative courtier. We've got Biff the bodyguard, her sworn sword. We've got Lord Catswald, the smarmy ladies' man.
With the extremely punchable face.
Yeah. And Lord Boxley, the prideful snob. And we've also got Fitch the Footpad, a hired cutthroat. Now, the last page on this Google Docs is health charts. So I posted 3 different health charts to show you guys how damage works and how you post them in your health. So your health chart is also going to be on your character sheet in your Google Docs, because if you take injuries, you do need to like keep track of them. And there are healing times, which are posted on the website. So, it takes longer to recover from lethal damage than it does bashing damage, for example. If you get into a sword fight and you get cut up real good, that's definitely going to affect you, especially if you get down into pain penalties. But anyway, I would like to set up a role play, like a full-fledged example, a role play scene between Lady Foxton and Lord Catswald. So I would like 2 volunteers, 1 person to play Lady Foxton and another person to play Lord Catswald.
I'm in. I'll do it.
All right, we got our first volunteer and our second one. Don't all speak up at once.
I'll go. Sure.
Okay, Eddie. All right, so for our first volunteer... All right, Alyssa, do you want to play Foxton or Catswald?
I will play Lady Foxton.
Okay. Katori, it looks like you're playing Lord Catswald. Okay, guys, in this scene, and we'll post it in Second Life. In this scene, Lord Catswald is just hanging out at a ball or a banquet. We can use a banquet. And Lady Foxton is going to approach Lord Catswald, and she's going to try and manipulate him into telling her information. Okay? So Lady Foxton is going to be using her manipulation plus her subterfuge. Oh, Alyssa needs a second.
While we're waiting, the way that you have these sample characters laid out, is that a way that we could lay out our sheets on the Google Doc?
Yeah, if you want. Sure, you can use this format.
Sorry, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Stupid.
The only advice I would give you guys for formats on your character sheets in the Google Docs is once you've been approved for the points in your character sheets, try and cut down on equations, 1 plus 3, 1 plus 1 plus 2, kind of just crunch that down into one solid number so you and other people can know at a glance what you have. So there's really no reason to keep those equations in place on your character sheet, like once you've been approved.
That's just for like point spendage.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because that was
Okay.
really
People
just
don't
for
like
you guys,
math.
right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, add in the 3
Averages.
plus the 1 plus the 2. All that stuff was just for the people looking at your sheets to see where you put your points and all that. But yeah, like you said, on your final Google Docs, just mix it all together into one big number.
Yep, and then we know at a glance. So, in this scene, we're gonna Katori's gonna post first because he's Lord Catswald, and he's at a banquet, and then Lady Foxton is going to approach him. So go ahead and post us up, Katori. Good post. All right. So now Alyssa is going to post as Lady Foxton. Now, your goal in this scene, Lady Foxton, is you need to get some information about Lord Boxley. Okay, you need to know what Lord Boxley was up to at the banquet last week. And so you're going to go up to Lord Catswald and try and get that information out of him because you suspect Lord Boxley was up to some no good. Okay, immediately, Alyssa, you're going to go out of character now and declare your intention to engage. So what you're going to do here is you're going to say that you're using the seduce intrigue with the goal to gather information. So that Katori, who's playing Lord Catswald, knows that, you know, this isn't just roleplay, you're engaging him.
Boxley.
No, he's playing Lord Catswald.
Oh. And yeah, my post was wrong. Sorry, I thought we were talking about Lord Boxley.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, he's Lord Catswald in this scene.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So you go out of character and you say, you know, you declare you're engaged, that you're going to engage Lord Catswald in a scene. Exactly, for information. Okay, so the first thing you do is you're going to roll to engage him. Okay, so if we look at our different stats, Lord Catswald has a composure of 2 and an etiquette of 2. So this is going to be at a difficulty of 4. That's a fairly easy roll. However, his status is 4 and your status is 5, so you get 1 bonus dice to engage. And Lady Foxton is a monster in terms of seduction. So you've got 8 dice. Holy shit. You've got 8 dice to roll with. Plus 1 because of status. So you roll 9 dice at difficulty 4. There's no way in hell you're not succeeding. So go ahead and click roll for action. That's going to be 9 dice, difficulty 4 for seduce engage.
Yeah, it would be 9,4 in the box.
Then seduce.
Yep. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 9, 9, 10, 10. Wow. So so let's.
That's weird.
My bad. I was trying to click my profile picture and I accidentally clicked my action button.
Oh, you're
So
fine.
I apologize for that.
Yeah, so let's take a look at Lady Foxton's roll. She got a 1, a 2, a 3, 4, 7, 9, 9, 10, 10. Okay, so the 1 subtracted from one of her 10s. Okay, so that first 10 is gone. However, she got a second 10. So, and because she has a specialty, she would get an additional success because that 10 counts as 2 successes. So she actually got 6 on that roll. And she would get to roll that 10 again if she wanted. But at this point, it's a formality. Like, she just smackdown succeeded. She doesn't need to re-roll if she doesn't want to. But she can if, you know, she can for funsies. But we are now officially in an intrigue. So Lady Foxton has engaged Lord Catswald. So now that you've successfully engaged, Lord Catswald is going to post back as to being engaged. And like his attention is going to shift onto Lady Foxton now. So go ahead and post a reply, Katori. And this, by the way, is a monster success. So Katori, in your post, go ahead and sell for Lady Foxton a little bit and how sexy she is. Exactly.
All in the dress adjusting, ladies.
I straight up don't even know how to post this because it's just such an
Katori.
absurd success.
Come on, we've role played before. Come on. That was your
I
daughter.
expect a little bit of drool to happen here.
Well, he was in the middle of something, and she surprised him. She just rolled up on him all of a sudden.
He just
Yeah, I mean, so
Just
it was, just take it as okay. He just walked around the corner, and she was just all of a sudden right there.
She adjusted her dress and saw the table. Those are probably going to be the only 10s you guys will see out of me this entire RP, so enjoy those while we have them.
So just to clarify, if you have a specialty and what you're rolling, and it applies, and you get 2 10s, then those 2 10s both count.
Unless
as an extra
they were
success?
canceled out by ones. Yes, they both count unless they were canceled out by ones. Because remember, ones cancel from the top down. But if you rolled, like, say, 2 10s and you didn't roll any ones, yes, those 2 10s both count as 2 successes each. And you can re-roll both 10s.
But they don't count as like an extra success. Like a crit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, they count as an extra success in the sense that they're worth 2 successes and not just 1. Because normally they'd be worth like 1 success each, right? But because they're 10s and you have a specialty, they count as 2 each.
So you would have actually got 4 successes instead of 2.
Not on Nicole's roll, or I should say Lady Foxton's roll, because she did roll a 1 in that roll, and that 1 took out one of those 10s.
Gotcha.
Okay, Jocelyn being funny.
You made it too easy. I'm sorry.
Katori, that's beautiful. See, that's a great post selling for Lady Foxton and her stunning milkshake, because she's got lots of assets. Okay.
I was drawing on all of the excitement of the Hell in the Cell in '98.
Now, we're officially in an intrigue now, guys. The exchange has been rolled. We've described the exchange, and now Lady Foxton is going to see if she can get what she wants. And she probably is, because Lady Foxton is, in terms of court, like being a manipulator and a seducer, she is a samurai. She's really, really good.
I think Colin Oates wrote a song about this titled Man-Eater.
Man-Eater, yes. Lady Foxton, just look at that picture. She is a man-eater. Okay, so Lady Foxton has a willpower of 4. That means she has 4 intrigue rounds to make this happen. She does have a status of 5, and Lord Catswald has a status of 4, so we need to remember that Lady Foxton gets +1 dice on all her rolls during this intrigue, because she's a little bit higher up in the noble ladder than Lord Catswald is. So Lord Catswald only has a willpower of 3, and he gets to resist with his... However, Lord Catswald is not stupid either. He gets to resist with his wits and his temperance. Now, he's very, very clever. Lord Catswald has a wits of 4, and he's clever, so his specialty will apply. But he only has a temperance of 1. He likes the ladies, okay? Lord Catswald is a partier. So he gets 5 dice to resist with, plus his specialty, while Lady Foxton gets to roll 9 dice with her specialty. So Lord Catswald, he's a little bit outgunned, maybe quite a bit outgunned, but it's not impossible. He could win. However, Lady Foxton only needs 3 successes. If she rolls against Lord Catswald and she gets like 6 successes and he only reduces like 1, she instantly wins the intrigue. Because Lord Catswald, his willpower is not very high. So let's go back to the scene, and we're gonna have Lady Foxton posts her opening salvo of witty repartee. She's trying to find out something from Lord Catswald. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. So she wouldn't post now. It would be, we got to remember to follow the order of actions. So that was actually my bad. Order of actions is declare, roll, describe. So you don't have to declare. We all know what's going on. So you would just basically just roll off now and then post the results together. Okay, so Lady Catswald, go ahead and roll your dice. That's your manipulation plus your subterfuge. So that would be 8, plus your status bonus. That would be 9 at difficulty 6. So 9 dice, difficulty 6. And you have a specialty.
It's not difficulty 4?
No. Because the difficulty for the engage roll is wits composure, but that's just for the engage roll. During the intrigue, the difficulty is standard, unless of course we have qualities that modify that difficulty.
Do I need to describe, or would I just 9 and 6 and be done?
You just roll, and then Lord Catswald is going to try and resist you, and then we're going to describe, because we're trying to tell the story the dice are telling. Okay. The 1 subtracted from the one of your 9s, but you rolled a monster success, so we've got 5 successes. That was a really, really good roll. Now, Lord Catswald, he's not out of this yet. You can roll 5 dice, Lord Catswald, at difficulty 6, plus you get your specialty. But being a philanderer and a lover of the ladies, you might be at a disadvantage here with your 1 temperance. Oh! Lord Catswald. 4 successes. Good for you, buddy. Okay. So, on that exchange, because Lady Foxton got 5 successes and Lord Catswald got 4, Lady Foxton reduced Lord Catswald's willpower just by 1 point. Okay, so Lord Catswald is down to 2, and Lady Foxton is out 1 turn. So she has 3 turns left to try and make this happen. So now we post the exchange. So we post Lady Catswald is next because Lady Foxton. I'm sorry, I'm confusing these guys. Lady Foxton is next to post because Lord Catswald was last to post. So Lady Foxton, go ahead and post your attempt to try and get this information out of him. And then, of course, Katori is going to come back with Lord Catswald's response. Because Lord Catswald, he's not a dummy. He's got wits for her, and he's clever.
While she's posting, so to start an intrigue, first round has to beat their willpower, and then the willpower is target for the posts following, or
no. The first step in an intrigue is the exchange or the engage. So you're just rolling the roll of the intrigue you're using against a difficulty of their wits or a difficulty of their composure and etiquette.
Okay, right. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. So yeah, if Lady Catswald is using seduce, she has to roll manipulation subterfuge against a difficulty of, whatever your character's composure and etiquette is. And she just needs one success to engage you.
Would blame it on drinking, but unfortunately, stone cold sober.
All right, so Lord Catswald, that cleavage does look good. She did score one success on you. But you know what's going on. She definitely wants something.
And you can apply your status bonus to both your offense and your defense if it applies.
Correct. Yeah, if you're higher status than someone in an intrigue, the difference applies as bonus dice to all your rolls. Now, bonus dice does help, and I had this chat with Akira/Timond. Bonus dice, while it does help, those dice can turn up ones. So having big dice pools isn't a guaranteed success. If you roll a bunch of ones, there's like nothing you can do about that. It's going to cancel out your successes. What really swings really hard in this system is difficulty numbers. So higher difficulty numbers are much harder to hit, and lower difficulty numbers pretty much guarantee your success.
Real quick question. I think I might have missed it. If you have something like clever, like if you like what's for your specialty, does that give you an extra die to your pool? Is that what it does?
No, specialties basically during this when you're rolling during a roll that applies to your specialty. So for example, Lord Catswald trying to resist her seduction. He's clever, so he absolutely can apply that specialty. If he gets any 10s on his roll and they're not canceled out by ones, those 10s count as 2 successes instead of just ones, and he gets to roll the 10s again.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense.
Now, normally anybody can roll 10s again. 10 again rule applies to everyone, even if you don't have a specialty. So if you roll 10s, yeah, you can re-roll those 10s. But those 10s count for double the successes if you have a specialty.
Okay, so like for Borman, who has clever also, if someone were to do this, he could, like, if we got a 10, he could count it for 2 plus roll it to have 3 successes from 1 10, basically.
You would get 2 successes from that 1 10, and you could roll that 10 again to try and get even more successes.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense.
Grunt softly. I love this. Okay, great. Now that's the end of our first round of intrigue, guys. We've got 3 more rounds of intrigue for Lady Foxton to make this happen.
There was a question in the actual Saturday demo.
Oh, sorry. I had this minimized. I was looking at Second Life. Once your willpower is reduced to 0, does that mean? Oh no, you don't have to heal your willpower. Like once the intrigue is over, your willpower just shoots right back up to full.
Just because heal your pride.
Yeah, I mean your pride might be a little hurt, but basically your willpower is gauging your ability to resist this person trying to influence you. But like I said, yeah, no problem. A particular character can only try and engage you once per scene. Okay, so you don't have to worry about a character trying to engage you multiple times. You can be engaged multiple times by multiple characters in one scene. So if like Arian's hanging out and 3 people come up to him and they all want to engage him in intrigues, the king's going to be pretty busy.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Let's say Lord Lannister is a little has a little bit of lace in his trousers and decides to try and seduce the Lord Commander of the King's Guard, because why not? The Lord Commander of the King's Guard isn't that into lace in the trousers. Does that have any effect on a seduction?
It absolutely does. Basically, if somebody's trying to seduce you and they are of a gender you're not attracted to, you add all of your points in temperance as a difficulty penalty to your opponent's roll. Okay, so what would be your temperance in this situation? Or I mean, like, what's your temperance on your character sheet?
Lord Cotswold has 1 temperance.
Okay, so Lord Cotswold is, you could convince him to swing another way. Like, if you were good, you could convince him for a bisexual, like, rendezvous. But that's still going to add a +1 difficulty to all of your attempts to seduce him, because he's not normally attracted to men.
Okay.
If you try real hard.
Yeah, if you try real hard. But if you're like for example, if you're going up against somebody who has at least like 3 temperance or more, it's probably going to be impossible, because your base, it would help if you were attractive. But if you're facing a +3 difficulty penalty to your roll, we're looking at like a difficulty 8 or difficulty 9 roll. That's like almost impossible.
Gotcha. Okay.
But not. That's
you
like
could pop all 10s.
You could theoretically, yes.
In that case, the Lord Commander's like, well, a hole is a hole.
Or the player can be like, no, Destiny point, that's not happening.
And fade to black.
That brings me to a point to where, okay, say you get intrigued and you lose. You do have to take the situation result as it is. But let's say the next day, if you choose to go back on your word, that is an option.
Yes, it is an option, because you can have a change of heart. An intrigue is a short-term compulsion. It's no substitute for a long-term relationship. However, there can be consequences for changing your mind, and you really can't change the past. Like, you can't unspeak what you said. You can't unsign that document. You can't really do that. But you can change your mind about how you feel about it.
Just ask Rob Stark.
Exactly. Because Rob Stark, he signed that marriage contract, and then, Jane Westerling, she intrigued the fuck out of him, and he got married to Jane
ask
Westerling.
Rob, he's dead.
Exactly. But anyway, guys,
get R'hllor up in here, then we can ask him.
So back to the intrigue scene. We are now officially through our first round of intrigue. We've got 3 rounds left for Lady Foxton to make this happen. So we're going to go right back to the dice. This is round 2, and we're going to roll again. So Lady Foxton, go ahead and roll your manipulation subterfuge plus your status bonus, which is 1. So 9 dice, difficulty 6. Let's see if you can seduce this Lord Cotswold. Wow. Okay, so your specialty won't apply because the 1 subtracts from your 10. But still, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes. That's a monster roll. Like I said, she is a samurai. Very strong. But Lord Cotswold's not out of it yet. So go ahead and make your roll. Okay, not bad. 4 successes, that's still very respectable. Or no, 2 successes. So you might need to re-roll those dice, E. So, and this is a great point to bring up. If you accidentally roll the incorrect pool, the rule is that like roll of the incorrect pool, that doesn't count. You have to roll again. So in the case of Lord Cotswold here, he rolled 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 5. 5 is the correct dice pool. I'm totally wrong, but 5
I
is
was
the
gonna say
correct dice
4
roll.
plus 1, I thought.
Yeah, no, Lord Caswald is correct.
If you
5
roll
dice.
incorrectly, then trash, start over again.
Exactly. So if
Yeah.
you roll incorrectly, you just re-roll right away. Now
Um,
your opponent doesn't have to re-roll as long as
And
they
there
roll
was
correctly.
sorry, there was a good question from Alara in chat
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
intrigues getting interrupted.
So in most group role play situations, we're not going to have a posting order. And we're also going to have what's called posting etiquette. So you probably are going to be restricted to only like a paragraph per post because it's such a large scene with a lot of different players. And it's also a situation where that's why it's in the intrigue rules where you can lead someone off out of a scene if you want to like speak to them, away from the party or something that's going on. So if they're at a banquet and there's like 10 other players and they're all making posts, it's in the rules of the intrigue that if you successfully engage them, you can lead them off somewhere else to have this scene. And it's actually really useful to do that because you don't want to seduce Lord Catswald in front of his wife.
So here's a scenario: you're in a group,
Yeah, I do.
and you approach another character. You declare your intent to intrigue that person, and you succeed. And your post, just post in, Lord Lannister, may I speak to you privately?
Exactly. And then Lord Lannister has to go with you because you engaged him and he's successfully intrigued. He's like interested in what you have to say. So he would go off with you and you'd have that scene. And you could do it like away from the group. So it's not disruptive. You're not scrolling through the chat trying to figure out which dice roll is yours. So we don't have like 10 people doing 5 intrigues in like the same area. That probably wouldn't work out very well.
I think what she was asking is if, let's say somebody tried to intrigue her and I'm guarding her, but I was talking to somebody else and I noticed and they're like 3 rounds in, haven't succeeded, she hasn't lost. Could I, as the guard or another lord or just whoever, come over and kind of notice what's going on and pull her away? Like, is there an ability for somebody to interrupt it on purpose or by accident?
No, because well, first of all, in a realistic sense, that would be extremely rude to interrupt 2 people who are talking. You can technically interrupt an intrigue, but only with a physical assault. So, for example, if
the guard comes up and punches the lord,
so like as the guard, if somebody was seducing her and they were kind of like buzz off, the only way that I could end that intrigue is by pushing them back and being like, take a fucking hike or take a fucking blade.
Exactly. You could go up and physically shove him, but you can't use the intrigue system to interrupt their intrigue. But you can get physical.
And then at
that might be something worth looking into, like a way to intrigue like into something, because I can see the dynamic there, but I also do completely understand why you wouldn't want to have.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually in reference to what I was talking about earlier. Just a little bit ago, I'm talking about like I mentioned group intrigues, and we are looking at that right now in implementing that in the system. Right now, the system is only built for like one-on-one intrigues, but group intrigues is something I really want to do. I just haven't worked out the kinks in it yet, and to make it fair for everybody. So, because my concern with the group intrigue is you'd get into a situation where you've got, for example, let's say Lord Lannister, he is a samurai. He is really, really good at intrigue. But let's say his daughter's not so good. And maybe somebody wants to convince his daughter to do something. That puts us in a situation where as long as Lord Lannister's around keeping an eye on his daughter, he can immediately interrupt any intrigues that try to affect her. Now,
there maybe be the possibility of like lending intrigue points to somebody, like not your full count. Like Lord Lannister would be a beast, but maybe his presence gives her an extra right to resist or something. That way,
that's actually a good idea.
Interrupt without destroying the scene.
I could see that happening. So, like, instead of Lord Lannister throwing his full weight behind the intrigue, maybe
more aware of herself because
her father's near.
She trusts there. And that could even work the other way. Like if somebody's with Lady Foxton and they want the information too, maybe they help her out if she wasn't such a fucking absolute beast.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, in the scene, guys, if you've done the math correctly, Lady Foxton got 6 successes, and Lord Catswald got 4 successes, which reduces his remaining willpower of 2 to 0. He has lost the intrigue. So now at that moment, Lady Foxton can post at her, and she can post herself asking what she wants to know, and Lord Catswald has to reply with the truth because he's sufficiently distracted with Lady Foxton's sexuality, right? Which that's the whole point of the seduction intrigue. You're using your sexual wiles to distract your opponent into doing what you want. So you can seduce somebody without ever actually fucking them. Like, you don't have to go into a sexual tryst every time. You can just kind of hint at sexuality, and that can get people to do stuff for you. Now, there is a specific seduction goal to engage in a sexual tryst. Obviously, if Lady Foxton wanted to do that, I mean, she's got Lord Catswald around her finger. But not necessarily. Lady Foxton, she's a busy woman. She doesn't have time to fuck Lord Catswald tonight. We're gonna but go ahead and if you want, Lady Foxton, go ahead and post yourself asking what you would like to know. You were inquiring after Lord Boxley's whereabouts last week, and Lord Catswald has to tell you. I got
confused with the Boxley and okay.
Yeah. You're asking after where Lord Boxley was last week because you know Lord Catswald knows, but he may not want to tell you. All right. So that is the end of the intrigue. Lady Foxton has taken out Lord Catswald in the intrigue. She successfully seduced him. And if Lady Foxton had, or if Lord Catswald had more temperance, if he'd have been like a different guy, he'd have a little bit more control over himself. He'd had a lot more dice to defend himself against Lady Catswald, or Lady Foxton. But that's because he's got a temperance of 1. That is his weakness, and Lady Foxton knows that. So she like a samurai, she picked the correct weapon to attack him with. But that's what's so great about the intrigue. You can't change what's on your character sheet to suit the situation, right? And it's almost impossible to be ready for any situation in an intrigue. Like, the system was designed where there's just not enough points to go around where you're perfect in every situation. So that's you in a situation where if your character is just weak to a certain intrigue, I mean, that's just the way it is. That's your weak spot. Now, if, Lord Catswald had lots and lots of temperance and he's got like a wits of 4 and he's clever, he would be damn near impossible to seduce because he's got 8, 9 dice plus a specialty.
Letting you suck my toes, Katori.
I'm calling the father.
Harlot.
You.
Okay, guys. So I would like, if at all possible, to run through an example of combat.
Oh, yay, good.
Yes, that would be possible, Tymond. Because you're using, in fact, that's literally the basis of the horror profession. Sorry. And, our system does provide for full-time player character horrors on Sim. If that's what you're into, you can do that.
Remember, Tymond, you're not paying them for sex. You're paying them to leave afterwards.
Actually, who here has heard the story of the heir in the brothel?
I think I know this story.
I've heard this story, but I do believe it's
Yeah,
very pertinent to this situation. So
It is very pertinent.
You should tell the story, Aaron.
I would love to tell this story to you guys. Basically, I was running a tabletop game. It was a Song of Ice and Fire. It was set in in Westeros, and we were using a very similar system to this. Basically, I just got done explaining to this player. I was like, dude, you're the heir. Like, you are the lord of this house, and or your father's the lord of this house, and you're the heir. And I was like, that gives you a lot of power. And he was like, great. And so he got a super big head about it, and he's like, I'm super powerful. And there was a brothel on his father's lands. And his character was only I think 18 at the time. He was really young. And he immediately tells me, when we go to his character, he's like, okay, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the local brothel. And I'm like, okay, great. And he rolls up in there, this 18-year-old kid, and he immediately says to the proprietor of the brothel, he's like, I want your best seat, I want your best wine, and, I want everything for free. I'm not going to be paying for anything today. And, the brothel owner, who is a small folk, this is a legitimate aristocrat in front of him. And furthermore, it's the son of the lord on whose land his brothel is built. So what does the brothel owner do in that situation? Well, I'll tell you. He smiles. He acts obsequious. And he says to the heir, oh, of course, my lord, of course. Come right this way. I'm going to get you my best wine. I'm going to get you my best seat. And you know what? I'm going to get you my best girl. And he goes and he gets Nadja. And Nadja comes out. Now, this heir, he is a really good warrior, but he can't do intrigue for shit, okay? He's 18 years old. He's very naive. Nadja is the best girl in that brothel, and she knows her business. You understand? She is a stone cold hustler, and she goes up to this heir and she wipes the fucking floor with him in an intrigue. It was hilarious to watch. I think, in fact, he like botched his resist attempts. So he wakes up the next morning, 50 gold dragons lighter. She took him for everything he had on him. It was unbelievable. And he wakes up with a hangover and no money. And that is a great example, ladies and gentlemen, why you shouldn't get too cocky because of your title.
Assess says, boy, you done cost us the farm.
Exactly.
That's what happens to Magon when he goes into brothels.
That's
why Arian won't give him any more money.
Magon will not be attending any brothels.
That's right, because those women in there, they are hustlers. That's their job, to get money out of men.
Henriette will be there because I like to tend to the poor unfortunate souls that have sinned.
Uh-huh.
And I'll employ them.
You better not be there.
I'll just employ them to smooth some of the men, you know. Work my little birds.
Okay, guys, so I would like to get a new example of combat, if we could. So in this example, I'm going to need 3 players. It might surprise you to learn I need that many, but I'll get into that. I need someone to play Lady Foxton, and if you don't mind, Alyssa, you can continue to play Lady Foxton if you want.
I mean, I'll give someone else a chance if someone else wants to go.
Okay, no problem. I just asked because Lady Foxton won't be doing much in this combat scene. She's going to be considered a non-combatant.
Okay. Well, I mean, if no one else wants to go, I can. But if someone else wants to play,
okay,
they are more than welcome.
I do want to play, but I'd like to try one of the combatants just to see how it works.
Okay, great. So we're going to have Robin as one of our combatants. And do we have another volunteer?
Do it if nobody else wants to.
Okay. So
yeah, I'll let Jocelyn do.
Okay, awesome. Foxton. So we got Jocelyn doing Foxton. We've got Eddie volunteering as one of the combatants and Robin as being another combatant. Okay. So in this scenario, real quick to our combatants, who wants to be Lady Foxton's bodyguard?
It matters not at all to me. Yeah, Robin can.
Okay. Robin, your character is Biff the bodyguard in this scene. You are playing Biff. He is a sworn sword to House Foxton. He has a conformist nature. He has a soldier demeanor, and he enjoys long walks on the beach. So we've got Biff the bodyguard in this first scene, in this combat scene. And our second combatant is going to be Fitch the footpad. Okay, so Eddie, that is your character. Fitch in this scene has been hired by Lord Boxley to accost Lady Foxton because Lord Boxley has heard that Lady Foxton is sniffing around about him, and he was up to something really bad. So he does not want Lady Foxton to find that out. He's decided to send his thug Fitch the footpad to sort out Lady Foxton. And
had enough of her shit.
That's right. He has had enough, and he is a lord with money. And Fitch likes money. Fitch works for money. So in this case, go ahead.
That brought me to another question that I wanted to bring up. Are we allowed to roleplay as our lackeys? If, like, say, we send them off somewhere, are we allowed to roleplay as them?
Yes, you absolutely are. Especially if they're like cohorts. Cohorts are much more like role playable, but if you send a lackey to like follow someone around, yeah, you can absolutely role play as your lackey. The only difference is you can spend a destiny point to kill a lackey that is attacking you, but you can't do that to kill a cohort. So like one of the one of the uses of a destiny point is you can burn a destiny point, and if a lackey is attacking you, you can use that destiny point to kill them immediately. The example I would use for this is when Catelyn Stark is being attacked by the footpad, and like there's nobody around, like it's just her and Bran. So Catelyn Stark in system terms would have used a destiny point to protect Bran from the footpad, and then out of nowhere Summer suddenly comes up and rips the footpad's throat out. So that's how I would describe that. However, if the footpad was a cohort, Catelyn couldn't have done that. But anyway, what was that, Robin? I can see your question in the
Only if they're
Can
attacking.
you,
Yeah.
can you spend a destiny point to kill a defending lackey?
No, you
So
cannot.
like, perfect. That was gonna be my question. So like, if I have a lackey knight and somebody comes up to attack, they can't just burn a destiny point to kill my knight.
Exactly.
Yourself, but not offensively, I guess.
Yes, you can use destiny points to protect yourself, but you cannot use them offensively. So yeah, exactly. So someone can't use a destiny point just to immediately bypass your bodyguard. If they're the aggressor in the scene, they have to fight it out. Okay, let's get into this combat scene. Now, in this scene, we have Lady Foxton, who is in the company of Biff the bodyguard. So Lady Foxton and Biff are in King's Landing, and Lady Foxton is going to her family's estate in King's Landing. She's leaving the Red Keep. She's going to her family's estate, and we have Fitch the footpad. He is waiting. He's waiting for Lady Foxton to leave the Red Keep. He's there in the alleyways and the streets, and he's watching her. And then he's gonna try and catch them by surprise. Okay, so we're gonna do a full combat scene. We're gonna do the cheap shot round. We're gonna do the whole thing. So Fitch has been hired to kill Lady Foxton in this scene. Okay, so pretty serious. This can happen to you, so be careful. So we're gonna start off with Lady Foxton and Biff the bodyguard kind of posting, leaving the Red Keep, and then we're gonna have Fitch come in and make his post. So go ahead, take it away, guys. We'll start the scene. Oh, no problem, Jocelyn. We're just starting the scene. So in this scene, Lady Foxton and Biff, her bodyguard, are leaving the Red Keep. So go ahead and start the scene and post us up with Lady Foxton leaving the Red Keep alongside her bodyguard, Biff. So you'll post, Biff will post, and then we're going to have Fitch come in and post because he's waiting for you. All right, Fitch. So you're going to post now, and whatever your plan of attack is. Now, in terms of the system, I want to advise you of your options, Fitch. Your goal is to kill Lady Foxton. Now, since combat has not been engaged yet, you do still have the option to attack Lady Foxton. However, you will have to sneak up and get past her bodyguard. So if that's what you would like to do, or you would like to just jump Biff and take him out quickly, it's however you think Fitch would do it.
In a straight up scene, I'd probably play it a little more sneaky, but in the interest of getting the combat going, I'm just gonna attack Biff.
Oh no, you can please do the sneakiness because we need to cover cheap shot rules.
Okay, yeah. Do that. I don't know if that's right for the cheap shot, but okay, we'll try.
No, that's excellent. Okay, so I'd like to give you guys your equipment now to just see what Biff and Fitch are equipped with. So this... All right, 1 second, guys. Okay, got it. Sorry, I had to get my notes. So I'm going to post this in the Discord. So this is what Biff is equipped with. That's his weapon and armor that he has. And we're just assuming that all weapons are castle forged for the purposes of this demonstration. So they won't have any effects to their rolls. And this is Fitch's equipment, okay? So Biff, he has a longsword and he's wearing ringmail. Fitch, on the other hand, he has a dagger and he's wearing leather. Now, there is a penalty that comes to Biff's armor. He has a -1 penalty. What that means is he subtracts 1 dice from all athletics-based rolls in the coming combat. So if he wants to dodge using dexterity athletics, he suffers a -1 dice penalty to his pools because it's harder to move in ringmail. Fitch, however, he has no penalty. His leather soaks less damage, but he has no penalty at all because he likes to stay nice and light. Okay, so keeping clear of Biff. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what we have here is a situation where Fitch is trying to sneak past Biff. Okay, so we've engaged in the cheap shot round. Okay, so he's going to try and get a shot at our Lady Foxton. So the cheap shot round is basically your chance to get in an attack before somebody can declare themselves a non-combatant. Okay, this is most common in assassination attempts or a case when you're just wanting to hit somebody when they're not looking. Now, during combat, any player at any time can just declare themselves a non-combatant. You'd be like, nope, my character is not involved in the combat. They're non-combatant. So non-combatants can't be attacked. So the cheap shot round prevents players from abusing that. So if there's an assassin coming their way, they can't suddenly go, oh, nope, I'm a non-combatant. They have to get through the cheap shot round before combat starts, because otherwise they could just declare themselves NCs, non-combatants, and the assassin would never get a chance to strike at them directly. However, it doesn't automatically mean that Fitch is going to get a free shot at Lady Foxton. He's going to have to roll for it. He's going to have to sneak up on Lady Foxton. And that is going to be resisted by Biff because he's her bodyguard. He's keeping a lookout. Okay, so the cheap shot roll starts when effectively the footpad Fitch is going to try and roll his dexterity and his stealth, which he is really good at, by the way. He's got a specialty in crowds, which fits King's Landing. So he's going to get to roll 8 dice with his specialty. So any 10s rolled count for 2 successes against a difficulty of Biff's Wits Alertness. Okay? So Biff's Wits Alertness put together is 6. So it's a standard difficulty. It's very doable for somebody like Fitch. But, you know, Fitch could still flub it and give himself away. So go ahead, Fitch. You're gonna, declare. That's perfect. So you're gonna declare cheap shot on Lady Foxley, and you're gonna roll your dexterity stealth at a difficulty of 6. So that'll be 8 dice. Boom, 5 successes, perfect. The one subtracted from your 10, but nonetheless, you nailed it completely. Fitch, he uses the crowd to get by, and he slips by Biff perfectly. So now essentially Fitch is going to post again, describing the results of his dice, because we did like kind of a halvesy post here. All right, perfect. Now, Lady Foxley, you have been surprised. He is going to attack you directly. And unfortunately, because he succeeded on his dexterity stealth roll, you never saw it coming. So you won't be able to respond, unless, of course, you had a quality like Danger Sense or something like that. Danger Sense and other, qualities that are relevant to that, they do protect you from situations like these. Unfortunately, Lady Foxley does not have those qualities. So essentially, he's going to get a free attack against you. So Fitch, he can roll his dexterity plus his melee. And because you didn't see it coming, he's like hitting you in the back. It'll be at a -2 difficulty on the attack. So instead of difficulty 6, he gets to roll all those dice difficulty 4. So go ahead and roll that attack, Fitch. That'll be your dexterity plus your melee at difficulty 4. Which, that's 7. That's a lot of dice. I mean, he could possibly kill Lady Foxley or Foxton on this attack if he rolls high enough, and then he has to roll damage.
And damages the soak dice?
Yes, correct. 5 have succeeded. Yep. So we can see in this roll how lower difficulties really make a big, big difference. Now, if this was at difficulty 6, he would have only got 3 successes. That's still pretty good, but it's definitely not as good as 5 because the 4 and 5 that turned up, those are also successes. So he scored 5 successes. That's a direct hit to Lady Foxton. So we're going to roll damage now. Fitch's damage with his dagger, if we look at his equipment, is strength +1 lethal damage. Okay, so
it'd be 3 + 1.
3 + 1 is 4. Plus, he gets to remember, guys. He only needed 1 success to hit her, so he gets to add all the additional dice that he rolled on all the additional successes he rolled as additional damage. So because he got 5 successes, that's a monster hit. He gets to add +4 dice to his damage. So he's actually rolling 8 lethal damage against Lady Foxton.
So what's the difficulty?
Difficulty's always, almost usually always 6, unless of course you have a quality like armor mastery or something like that.
You know, if cheap shot affected that.
Yeah, cheap shot does not affect the damage. You kind of get into qualities and stuff when you want to affect. Okay, yeah, that's a really bad hit. I mean, 5 successes. It's not enough to kill Lady Foxton outright, however. So everybody, real quick, go to the Google Doc. Go to the very last page on the health charts. Now, what we are looking at here are the 3 health charts of the characters involved in this scene. The first one is Lady Foxton. Okay, she's just taken 5 lethal damage. It's not enough to kill her outright. Okay, but she is very, very badly wounded. So what we're going to do to express this on her character sheet is we're going to put an X on every health level that she's lost to this lethal. Now, normally bashing would be a slash. So if everyone is looking at Lady Foxton's health chart, it would be a slash like that. You see on the bruised, the little bruise slot. If it was bashing, it looks like that. However, if it's lethal, which she just did take lethal damage, which is obviously lethal damage is harder to soak and it can kill you. If all of your health levels get filled up with lethal, you're dead. So it actually, we would put in an X, and she suffered 5 levels of lethal damage. So boom, bruised, hurt, injured, wounded, and mauled. Okay, so that's what that looks like. She took 5 levels of lethal damage. It says character is badly injured and may only hobble about 3 yards per round. So she is just badly hit. She's taken 5 lethal damage and combat has started. So what we're going to do is we're going to post our reaction rolls, right? So Biff is going to post his attack. Lady Foxton, or hitting her. Lady Foxton is going to post being hit, and Biff is going to post his reaction because he's now seen it. So go ahead, take it away, guys.
So I'm posting again, and then they're posting, or?
Yep, you're posting again because you hit them, and you're describing where you hit Lady Foxton so that she can react.
Out of curiosity, so say you have like blood of the first man, how do you add a bruise level? Would you just put -1 next to bruise?
On your health chart, you would just add another bruised health level. So
gotcha.
Yeah, so if we're looking at Biff the bodyguard on the Google Docs real quick, if he has blood of the first men, it would look like that.
Okay, gotcha. I'll just be back and getting a call.
So if in my response to the attack, I obviously want to jump to action, I would have to post that OOC lead before posting my actual post.
Yes, because you're posting, declare and, describe. Because, Biff may not, he may say, fuck Lady Foxton, I'm out of here. Like, he
Right.
can't do that.
Right. Okay.
If he's an NPC, obviously he won't do that because Lady Foxton is playing him. But if he's another player character, yeah, he has that freedom.
I kept it simple. No point.
Yeah, looks good. Right. Now, Lady Foxton, immediately she's going to post being hit. And then we got Biff, hopefully leaping to the rescue.
Or he's a really bad bodyguard.
Hopefully he leaps to the rescue, because we got to demonstrate combat.
It was tempting, but I really like to see how this works.
Exactly.
To clarify for people, since we spoke about the 10s being re-rolled, if you get 2 10s on damage, you get to re-roll them for extra damage.
I'm sorry, what was that, Megan? You sound kind of quiet.
I didn't put my mic down. My bad.
Oh, no problem.
So to clarify for people who might be wondering, when you get 2 10s on a damage roll, do you get to re-roll those for extra damage?
Yes, you do. The 10 again does apply to damage rolls. And since ones don't subtract from successes on soak or damage rolls, you always re-roll 10s.
Is there any situation 10s don't apply?
Nope. No, a 10 is about as good as you could hope for. Tens always re-roll, unless of course they've been canceled by a 1. If you have a specialty, 10s count for 2 successes instead of 1.
I'm sorry. I think I missed it. Did Lady Fox roll anything to resist the cheap shot attack?
No, and the reason she wasn't able to is because she doesn't have any qualities that protect her, like danger sense or anything like that. And also, the footpad in question, he rolled a successful stealth dexterity check against Biff's, the difficulty of Biff's wits alertness. Now, if Lady Foxton, if we look at her character, she's got a wits alertness of 4. So if it was higher than Biff's wits alertness, it would actually go off of Lady Foxton's wits alertness, because she's also, she's keeping a lookout. She's not going to just be let herself be attacked.
She's not getting stabbed.
Right. But Biff, the bodyguard, he has a higher wits alertness than Lady Foxton. So we go off of Biff's wits alertness for the difficulty of the stealth roll.
Would this be true of lackeys as well, if the lady had a lackey with higher wits?
Yes, it is true of lackeys.
Okay, sorry. So this is the point where I'm going to need a little bit of help. So
Sure.
I'm going to use the action dice, and if I can find there it is. So at this point, how many dice do I roll? How do I know how many dice to roll? Because I am completely
I think
lost.
it's
no problem.
the melee.
It's dexterity melee to make all attacks, and then strength factors into your damage. But what you would do in this situation is you just post Biff like leaping to the rescue, and then we're officially in combat. Because right now we don't know what Biff's going to do.
Sorry, I had a T-Rex in my face. You said what I'm going to do in this situation?
You would post Biff leaping to the rescue, because we actually don't know what Biff is going to do. You declared it, but we like to describe it as well. And then once that happens, then Lady Foxton can be like, "Oh nope, I'm a non-combatant in this scene. You can't hit me anymore."
Gotcha. Okay.
Now that doesn't mean she didn't take damage. Lady Foxton is hurt really, really badly, but she's not dead, and that's really the important thing.
So in what situations would you post intent and then roll and then post, as opposed to intent post roll?
It depends on whether or not you're doing a halvesy post. So like in this situation, we're kind of in a halvesy post situation where, we're not officially in combat yet, and we still need to see what the characters involved are going to do. So that's a halvesy situation.
Okay.
Soak is your armor rating for lethal, or it's your stamina plus your armor for bashing. Because that's the benefit of lethal damage. You can't resist it with your stamina. You can only resist it with your armor, but bashing damage tends to go through armor better. Okay, perfect, guys. So we're now officially in combat. Now, real quick, Lady Foxton, during this initiative roll, you're going to have to declare yourself a non-combatant, unless, of course, you'd like to get stabbed again, which I'm not sure you do. So in this case, we're officially entered combat, and we're going to roll initiative to see who goes first. So Biff and Fitch are going to roll. They're going to click on their initiative dice, and their modifier for initiative is always their wits plus their alertness. Okay. So Fitch gets a +5 to his initiative roll, and Biff gets a +6 to his initiative roll. So they're going to roll, they're going to click initiative, and then you just put in your initiative modifier, which for Biff would be 6 and Fitch would be 5, and then you roll off. Okay, so Biff got a 15, and Fitch got a 12. So that means Biff is going to go first.
Doesn't he need to re-roll again? Because it looks like he rolled with a 6 instead of a 5. Or am I misreading it?
Oh yes.
Re-roll. Yeah.
Yeah, he does need to re-roll. And that's a great eye. Good for pointing that out. We do need to be careful in these combat scenes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's still lower than Biff's roll of 15. So Biff is going to get to go first. What's the first thing you would like to do in this situation, Biff? And real quick, since we're rolling off for initiative, so Lady Foxton would declare she is a non-combatant. So you'd go out of character and just be like, Lady Foxton is an NC, and that means you can't be attacked for the rest of the combat. But I did. Okay, great. Awesome. So the consequences of being a non-combatant in a scene is that if the combat ends, you have to surrender to whatever the victors decide. So if basically if Fitch wins, there's pretty much nothing you can do to defend against what he decides to do with you next. So it's all on the line for Lady Foxton here. But Biff, you get to go first. And let me ask you, what's the first thing you would like to do to this footpad who's just stabbed your lady?
So, hold on.
Sure.
Hopefully take him out for a nice drink.
Can I shake his hand? Okay, so obviously I'm going to want to attack him back, and I believe you said that he has a longsword, correct?
Correct. So that would be dexterity, which is 3, plus melee 3. So you have 6 dice to roll on this attack.
Under action, correct?
Yes, roll for action. Oh, 6 rolls. Or 6 successes. That's a monster hit. However, Fitch isn't defenseless. He can choose to defend himself. So Fitch, what would you like to do in this situation? Would you like to try and defend yourself, or are you just going to take the hit?
I mean, his eyes are just so pretty, but I am going to have to defend myself.
So. Okay. So you've got a few options when it comes to defensive maneuvers, and that's actually on the combat page. You can see that there's a block maneuver. If you have a shield, you can use block. If you have a weapon, you can use the parry maneuver. If you have, or you can also just dodge. So it's kind of up to you, however you want to defend, however Fitch wants to defend himself. I would say parry or dodge are your best options right now.
Now, how does his specialty of nimble dodger play into this?
That would apply to any dodge rolls. So, Fitch, how would you like to defend yourself in this situation?
I'm reading parry real quick. Just go with dodge.
Okay.
Would I post like how you declare whatever else, dodge and then roll, or?
Yep, you go out of character and you just say Fitch is dodging. All right, there we go. And now you're going to roll the dodge. So that's dexterity 4 and athletics 1. So that's 5 dice. Plus you got your specialty. Now, here's the thing. If you use all your dice to dodge, you won't be able to attack. Okay, so that's the trade-off. You can use fewer amount of dice to dodge, and then whatever dice you have left over, you can attack with. As long as your dexterity melee meets that number, obviously. So you see these monster successes. Do you want to try and use your full dice pool to dodge? Or do you want to save some to attack with?
Yeah, I think I'm going to try and use all of them.
Okay. Yeah, and that's probably a wise choice because you see that those 6 successes, I mean, that's a bad hit. Oh, no. Oh, Fitch, you flubbed it. You flubbed it, son. Okay, so 1 success on the dodge does subtract from Biff's attack roll. So Biff only got 5 successes instead of 6. That's still a monster hit, though. So now we're going to roll damage real quick before we post the results. So Biff, go ahead and your weapon damage, which is 2. So that's 6 total. But since you got 5 successes, you only needed 1 to hit, you get to add 4 more dice. So we're looking at 10 lethal damage. Or 10 lethal dice we're rolling against Fitch. So go ahead and click the roll for soak and damage. And we're going to roll 10 dice at difficulty 6.
I hit the wrong button. I forgot the difficulty. Hold on.
Oh, you're okay.
Just going to say, that's a good roll.
That is a really good roll.
Okay, so am I missing something on the difficulty? How do I add that in here?
Oh, so you click, when you click on it, you click the number of, or you type in the number of dice. So in this case, it would be 10. Then you put in a comma, and then you put in the number of the difficulty, which in this case is 6. But since you're doing soak damage, you want to use the roll for soak instead of roll for action.
Oh, I thought I did. Dang it. They're too close together. Liam, stop it.
Okay, no problem.
Oh, almost did 20. That would have been funny.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so as we see, sometimes the dice just go that way. It was that, 10 lethal damage. You can die instantly from 10 lethal damage. But
so she didn't add the difficulty on her initial roll for the strike. If you guys see that.
Let me see.
I think. Yeah, difficulty. Wait, no. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, with difficulty.
Oh, that's right. She didn't. Okay, so
well, here's the thing. We've got a difficulty of 6. If we look at 6, 7, 7, 7, 7, and 9. So
yeah, that would have been 6 successes. But I think that's what confused me. But here's the thing, guys. This is a life and death situation, and according to the rules, if you put in the wrong number, you got to roll again.
In the interest of moving along the demo, though, like
Yeah, in the interest of moving along, we'll live with it. But yeah, just for future reference, yeah, you do have to re-roll if you input it incorrectly.
Guys, there. Thanks for catching that.
Yeah, no, that was a good job.
And in that case, we would just roll the scene back.
Yeah, and honestly, guys, that's why you want to get the dice over with first before you're posting, because in a real scene when you're really playing on sim, yeah, you can resolve the dice quickly, and then you just move on once the dice are all in order.
That's what I was going to ask. Is we don't have to necessarily post in between every roll. We can sit up. We say, okay, I'm going to attack. I'm going to do this, and roll and come up with our actions, and then post the whole scene.
Correct. At the end of every round, you do have to post the fight as it's evolving, right? So we're in the first round of combat currently, and as soon as we resolve that with the dice, then you guys post your characters fighting. So she did 2 lethal damage to Fitch. Now, Fitch, you have some armor, so you can protect yourself. You only have 2 dice to roll on this because your armor rating is 2. But, I mean, every little bit counts. So go ahead and roll for Soak 2 dice at difficulty 6 to see if you can reduce some of this damage. Okay, so he got straight through your armor. So that's 0 successes. So everybody go ahead and look at the health charts on the Google Docs. Now, Fitch has just taken 2 levels of lethal damage. So that means his bruised and hurt levels are now full. Now, it says character is superficially hurt and suffers no movement hindrance. Now, if you notice the negative next to the hurt, that is a pain penalty, okay? Because Fitch just got cut open with a longsword. He now suffers a -1 dice to all his pools, okay? Because it sucks having being cut open. If you have certain qualities like Blood of the Ironborn, it lets you automatically ignore up to 1 level of a pain penalty. So he would, if he was like Ironborn, he would have no pain penalty, right?
We do not sell.
Exactly. So go ahead and post, guys, because the round is over, and and just post and try to have your post reflect the story the dice are telling.
Now, is there any way to increase your health levels?
Yes, with certain qualities you can. There's the massive quality, which gives you 1 more health level, and there's also the Blood of the First Men, which gives you another health level. You can have one or both, but typically increasing your health levels is extremely difficult. It requires qualities, and you can't increase your health levels with experience points or anything like that. And for Lady Foxton, if you want to post, clutching your side and kind of staggering away or whatever you would like, non-combatants can also post, their character, role-playing, whatever you'd like to do while the fight is going on. But just mechanically, a non-combatant can't affect the fight mechanically. Just keep that in mind.
Actually, that brings up
Perfect.
something. The city guard, is that thing that would be...
Well, under normal circumstances, the gold cloaks might be nearby, but you have to keep in mind that every combat round is technically only 3 seconds of like real time in the scene. So, I mean, this fight is going to be over before the gold cloaks can even get there.
Yeah. That's why I was asking, like...
Perfect. That's a beautiful post. See, what Robin did there is she posted in a way that shows Biff's like monster attack, but you know, she also pulled back a little bit, like he's off balance from stepping around his lady, so he didn't get as much damage as he would have liked to. And that's what I'm talking about, guys, like selling for other players, you know, posting in a way that's telling the story the dice are. It puts us all in a situation where if you do really well and your character shines, people got to recognize it, and that's really nice.
Do I roll my dice now and then post, or do I post to that?
Yeah, you post being hit. So basically, it's like one combat round and then a post from everybody involved in the combat, and then we go through another combat round, another post, another combat round, another post. And that's what I'm...
Each combat is limited to 3 rounds, or is it, if this is a fight till the death, it's a fight to the death?
Yes, it's the fights go on as long as they have to. Until, and like one combatant can shout yield, and you can either accept their yield or you can continue the fight. Yield is actually like listed as a defensive maneuver. There's no way to like use your dice with a yield, but you can use a destiny point to force people to accept your yield.
But as an attacker, you don't have to accept a yield. If someone yields and you just are intent on killing them, you can continue. You don't have to.
Correct. Unless of course your target burns a destiny point. That's right. And that's what I was... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, it makes you think when you decide to engage in combat, is this going to be worth it?
Exactly, because Fitch is in a situation now where he has attempted to murder a high lady, a noble lady, and if he gets caught, he's gonna be killed here instantly, or if he's taken alive, he's gonna be tortured and then killed. So yeah, combat is very high stakes in Valar Morghulis.
I need to run for about 5 minutes to put my kids to bed. Can somebody take over Biff just while I'm gone?
Okay, no problem. Does anybody else want to play Biff while Robin's away?
I can do it if no one else wants to.
Okay, wonderful. All right, guys.
Anyone going once, going twice?
I think you're it.
Okay.
Wet.
Okay, guys. So now that we've posted, we're in a new combat round. And remember, the order of actions, this is what I was talking about. Declare, roll, describe. Declare, roll, describe. And that's how the order of actions works in a combat round. Most important, just to keep everything on track.
Now the initiative moves to me, right?
No, the initiative goes back to Biff because he got a higher initiative than you. So Biff goes first again because we're in a new combat round. And that is the consequence of using... Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so I can only attack if I save dice or they fail to hit me.
Correct.
Okay.
And what this reflects in character is like Biff has you on the ropes with his savage attacks, and you're doing everything you can to like not get hit. You're so busy defending yourself, you don't have dice to respond with.
Gotcha.
So, Biff, the initiative swings back to you. What would you like to do next?
Okay. So I believe Biff has been attacking, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so Biff is going to try and finish this assassin off.
Great. Okay, so that'll be it's just a straight dexterity melee roll, which I believe for Biff is 6 dice. At difficulty 6.
6 and 6.
Yep. Oh no, it's a miss. Oh no. Fitch, it swings back to you. He swung at you and missed, buddy. Now, the only thing that Biff did wrong there is he just rolled dice. Now, you can technically, like the declaration might be in this RAR attack here, but it helps if you declare like separately in out of character, just so like it lights up and there's, like you can probably declare your intention as part of the macro, but I would recommend going out of character and just saying what you're doing before you roll.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, Fitch, what would you like to do? You got swinged at and Biff missed.
In the comment page, a targeted strike, is that an option for me?
That is correct. It is an option for you. Biff has a melee of 3, which means he can use targeted strikes to the leg, the arm, the head, the knee, or the neck. And they all have additional difficulty, but they all also achieve different, effects. You might even bypass Biff's armor by hitting him in the neck, definitely.
Protect your neck.
Robin's back.
Sorry, Robin.
I will never forgive you.
That's what you get for
You're
trusting.
I know, that's what I get for being an irresponsible adult.
Dare you.
All right, so what's Fitch doing next on his turn? Target attack, neck. Perfect. Okay, so Fitch is going to make a strike at Biff's neck. Now, he needs a melee of 3 to be able to do this. If you have lower than melee 3, you actually can't attempt this maneuver because you're just not, skilled enough. An attack at the neck targets at +2 difficulty, so he'll have to roll this against a difficulty of 8. And it inflicts +1 damage. So if he does hit Biff, he'll get an extra damage dice. It says any character who suffers 4 or more health levels of damage to their neck after soak is killed instantly. So this has the potential to take Biff out totally. So go ahead and roll your dexterity melee, and that'll be at a difficulty of 8 to target the neck.
And then my -1, that's to my dexterity melee, right? So instead of
Correct. Yeah, because you're suffering a pain penalty because you've been hit. So you have to subtract 1 dice from all your rolls from now on. And a great job remembering that. Pain penalties are really easy to forget, guys, so just be very careful not to forget your pain penalties.
All right, and I suck.
Oh no, that's a miss.
Yeah, because the 1 took the 9, so my 1 success is gone.
Okay, guys, go ahead and post swinging at each other. We're going to role play it out.
Back to you, Robin.
And now after a few rounds, guys, you can kind of see what I was talking about more about the order of actions, the way these guys are doing it. Like they declare, they roll, and they describe. Declare, roll, describe. Every combat round, it's just the same thing. And it's a little slow in real time, like right now, just because we're learning and we're still kind of like trying to figure out what to do. But when you guys have been role-playing on Sim for 2, 3, 4 months, like it's going to come like second nature, and you're going to see those scenes just go by real quick. Beautiful. Yeah, that's perfect post, guys. You know, and you want to make obviously you want to make the scene exciting, and combat should be very exciting. And when these characters aren't like NPC characters that nobody gives a shit about, you know, these are these are demo characters. When it's your character in the scene, yeah, it's probably going to be very exciting because you can die. I would also like to note, as we enter a new combat round, that it is now Biff's turn again, because Biff did beat him in initiative when we started. However, Biff has the option, you can actually hold your action, Biff, and see what the footpad is going to do. Or you can just attack again. It's kind of up to you. You can also do targeted strikes, because Biff has melee 3, so you can target his arm, his neck, his head. It's just sort of up to you.
Do I need to then declare it? Yes, I do need to declare it OOCly first.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the first step in every combat round. You just declare. You just go out of character very simply, in like, a few words, just describe what you're going to do. And it keeps the combat flowing. It keeps it moving a lot quicker, because we're just declaring a simple statement of intent.
And it also helps your opponent know if you're doing a targeted attack, or if you're choosing to abstain and wait to see what they do.
Exactly.
What kind of armor did you say this guy has? Not mine.
He has leather armor.
Not Biff. I'm Biff. Leather. So that covers just chest and arms, am I correct?
Yes, chest and arms is the only coverage for leather. So his neck, his head, those are all exposed. His legs are exposed as well. Perfect. Okay, so a targeted attack to the legs is just a +1 difficulty. And this is actually pretty smart, because if Biff hits Fitch with this attack, Fitch is going to suffer a +1 difficulty penalty to all his dodge rolls for the rest of the combat. That's the effect of getting hit in the legs. So go ahead and roll your dexterity melee at +1 difficulty, so that'll be difficulty 7.
Plus, if you're trying to capture somebody, the legs and the arms, like the legs, they can't get away.
Right.
Neck, if you take 4 health levels of damage, you're dead, so capturing somebody, that's terrible.
Biff, you did it, buddy. Now, he doesn't have any armor covering his legs, so he doesn't even get to soak to reduce the damage. So roll your strength, which is 4, plus your longsword, which is 2, plus your extra successes. So you got 3 successes on the attack. You only needed 1 to hit, so you get 2 extra for damage.
I need to set up my push to talk instead of having to go back and hit unmute. Okay, so it was the dexterity and what? I missed part of that.
Oh, you're going to roll damage now. So your damage is your strength, which is Biff has 4 strength. The damage of the longsword, which is 2, so that's 6. And because of all your extra successes on the attack, you get 2 extra damage because you rolled 3 successes and you only needed 1 to hit. So the difference rolls over into your damage. So you roll for a total of 8 dice.
Okay.
And make sure you... Oh, go ahead.
Is there do I do difficulty on this one as well?
Yes, the difficulty is 6. So you click the roll for soak and damage. Okay, perfect. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Got it. Okay, Fitch has suffered 2 more levels of lethal damage, and from now on, if he tries to do the dodge defensive maneuver, if he tries to dodge you, he suffers a +1 difficulty penalty on the dodge. So, if everybody looks to the health charts in the Google Docs, Fitch has taken another 2 levels of lethal damage. So, now I should mention that Fitch has the option to try and dodge this attack if he wants. So when Biff declared that he intended to targeted attack the legs, that would be Fitch's time to declare a defensive maneuver. So Fitch, it's a little late. We've already rolled attack and damage, but do you want to do a defensive maneuver?
Nah.
Okay. So you do have the option of taking a defensive maneuver whenever you're attacked, guys. So just don't forget that. And that's during the declare phase. So when you're declaring, for example, Biff said, intent, targeted attack legs. As Fitch, you're the defender. You can say intent dodge. Like, I don't want to get hit. I'm going to dodge, or I can parry it, or I can block it with a shield. Fitch just took that hit, so he took 2 more levels of lethal, and if we look at the Google Docs on the health charts, we see he's down to wounded. It says character suffers significant damage and may not run. So his pain penalties have kicked up to a -2 now. So now that it's Fitch's turn, what would you like to do, sir?
Trying to see if there's anything interesting to do that'll show off something.
Yeah, you could do another targeted strike. You can also try and grapple. You can go into a clinch.
How would a disarm work in this situation?
Well, I believe there's certain fighting styles that allow you to disarm your opponent. However, you can also do a targeted strike at their hand, and that allows you to disarm them. You do need a melee of 4 or higher to do it, but it says the character who suffers 3 or more health levels of damage to their hand after soak can't use the hand until they're healed. So you basically you struck the hand holding that weapon, and then their hand is ruined for the rest of the fight. I think also there are certain fighting styles that let you disarm.
I know the Andal swordsman, I think at 2nd level or 3rd level, allows you to cut off someone's limb at the elbow or something like that, I believe.
Okay, so Katori has declared a clinch. So we're going to go into a clinch, and that is just a straight up roll off with a strength plus brawl to attack. However, the attacker must roll the maneuver at a -2 dice penalty if the defender is holding a weapon larger than a dagger, which Biff is. So with your pain penalties plus this penalty, Fitch, you're going to have to roll at a -4 dice penalty. So your dice on the clinch is strength plus brawl, so that's 5. You would only have 1 dice to roll in this attempt. Because those pain penalties, guys, they add up and they really hurt you. But he got 1 success, so he did hit Biff with a clinch. However, Biff can automatically try and resist that clinch. So Biff, go ahead and roll your strength brawl to try and resist. And every success you get cancels out a success by Fitch. So that would be your strength plus brawl, difficulty 6, and you use the roll for action on this one because it's not damage or soak. Boom, 4 successes. Okay, so Biff, in this round, Biff slashed Fitch's legs. Fitch just tried to lunge for him, and Biff just threw him off. So the clinch was unsuccessful because his resist roll reduced your clinch successes to 0. So go ahead and post up, guys. Describe it for us.
The more I see this, the more this is starting to make sense in my brain.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I've been saying to everybody who have questions about the system. It's like once you see it in action, it really does click for you. And like I said, guys, the system's super easy. Once you've been playing, even just a month, you'll have it down pat. The only thing to watch out for are the provisos and modifiers. You know how cheap shot rounds work, difficulty modifiers that can trip you up. But as long as we're just careful and we make sure the math adds up, it's really no problem at all.
Now, one thing that confused me was, okay, say like you are second on initiative, okay, and you were attacked successfully, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to defend yourself. You have to spend a certain amount of dice to defend yourself, but if you
Correct.
also want to attack, the last we talked, I was under the understanding that you could only use a certain amount of your dice to defend with, and then those dice were spent, and you couldn't use those dice to attack.
Correct. So when you're making a defensive maneuver, all the dice you spend on a defensive maneuver are subtracted from your attacks for the rest of that combat round until a new combat round starts. So if somebody attacks you, you can, say, I'll spend 3 dice trying to defend, with a parry or a dodge or whatever. And then when it's your turn on your attack, you lose that amount of dice to your attack. So it is possible to be so busy defending yourself, you can't actually make an attack. And that's why water dancing at the highest levels is so good, because a water dancer can always defend themselves with 5 dice no matter what.
Now, does that apply to different skills? So say, like, for example, I want to dodge, but I'm using, which would be athletics.
Yes, dodge is dexterity athletics.
But I want to use attack using melee. Do I get my full melee pool and my full athletics pool?
Well, you would have to roll the dodge, which is dexterity athletics, and then you have to decide how much dice to use on that dodge. So, let's say you want to use your full dice pool. So let's say your dexterity athletics pool is 5. So you use 5 dice to dodge, and then it's your turn, and you've got a dexterity melee roll pool of like 8, let's say. You can only roll the attack with 3 dice because you used 5 dice on the dodge to defend yourself. So that subtracts 5 dice from all of your attack.
So it's a global pool. It doesn't matter what skills you use.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Perfect, guys. So this is pretty exciting so far, but Fitch, he's taken more damage and he's a little bit on the ropes. And now we're back to the new combat round. Biff, it is your turn. How would you like to proceed, sir? Perfect. Now we're getting it. All right, so we're going to do a targeted attack to the neck. That's going to be your dexterity melee at difficulty 8 because it's a +2 difficulty to hit Fitch's neck. Now, Fitch, there we go. You got it, buddy. This is the time to declare a dodge. Okay, so remember your pain penalties, and you are at a +1 difficulty to dodge because you did get hit in the legs. So -2 dice, +1 difficulty.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And mine, just to make sure I remember, is strength plus melee, correct?
No, it's your dexterity plus your melee to attack.
Dexterity. Okay.
Yeah, so
Strength is for damage.
And it's
yes.
-6 still.
No, it's 6 dice to attack at difficulty 8. It's difficulty 8 now because you're targeting the neck.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what was going to be my next question is, where are we getting the difficulty?
Oh, the standard difficulty is always 6. There's a modifier, however, on like the combat page. It tells you for the targeted attack on the neck, it does add a +2 difficulty. So +2 difficulty on top of standard is 8. Okay, so you got a 10. You can roll one more dice to try at a difficulty of 8 to get more successes because you got a 10. Okay, so your 10 didn't get any additional successes. All right, Katori, have you rolled your dodge?
Yeah, he did. It looks like it shows that one succeeded.
8 with a difficulty level of 8. Okay, Katori, roll one more time because the difficulty is actually 7 for you because you only suffer a +1 difficulty to dodge.
I thought that the dodge was 1 less dice.
No, when you get hit in the legs, you suffer a +1 difficulty penalty to dodge. And then, because you have pain penalties, you lose 2 additional dice. So you're down -2 dice because you're pain penalties, and because you got hit in the legs, you're +1 difficulty to dodge. So for Fitch, his normal dodge is 5 dice because it's Dex Athletics. He is down 2 dice because of his pain penalties. So that lowers his pool to 3 dice. And so you roll 3 dice at difficulty 7. So go ahead and roll that dodge one more time. Okay, wow, that's a botch. So a botch happens, it's essentially a critical failure. A botch happens when you roll a 1 and no successes. So like you rolled no successes at all and you rolled a 1. We're going to be posting a page regarding botches and what they actually do for each action. But just for now, know that what a botch is, because we're going to be releasing that page in the future. And, you know, there are consequences to botching rolls. But anyway, continue. You did hit him in the neck, Biff. You did get 1 success. So the good news on this is that you get to roll at +1 damage. So you roll your strength, which is 4, plus your longsword, which is 2, plus 1 added to your damage because you hit him in the neck.
So if they get 0 damage, am I still dead? Because I'm already at 4 levels of health.
Yes.
Did, in
if you
fact, get 0.
What was that?
Got 0 damage, but I'm still at 4 levels of health removed. So.
Oh no. Robin has used the incorrect macro to roll for damage because those ones. It says has gotten 1, 3, 3, 3, 4, 7, 7. So that should be 2 successes.
You rolled at a difficulty of 8 for damage instead of 6.
Yeah, damage. All damage difficulty is at 6. Yeah, it's okay. We're all learning here. So go ahead and roll your 7 dice at difficulty 6 with the roll for soak. There we go. Okay, that's it. I mean, that's the story of Fitch. Unfortunately, Fitch, you don't have any armor on your neck. You can't reduce the damage. You caught a sword in the neck, buddy. That's it. He cut your head clean off. So we're going to close combat with Biff triumphant slaying a Fitch, cutting his head clean off his shoulders. All right. Thanks so much, Cersei, for coming. There we go. That's really good. Yeah, and just like that, I mean, Fitch is entitled to his swan song role or his swan song post if he likes. That seeing that blade come down and remove his head from his shoulders. That's the last post you would make with your character, unless of course you want to burn a destiny point and stay alive. And that's basically combat. I mean, when you really get into that order of actions, it moves really quickly. Because I've run the same system in chat rooms before, and it's boom, boom, boom. Once everybody kind of knows the order of actions and they're rocking and rolling, it doesn't take nearly long to resolve. And that's why I chose this system for Valar Morghulis, because I wanted something that would put us in a situation where we weren't standing around doing math all the time. Unlike a very crunchy dice system like Dungeons and Dragons, which would be, gosh, that would be a nightmare on Second Life. But awesome, guys. Yeah, that's damage. I want to leave everybody on one note for damage in combat. If everybody looks at the character chart, the health chart on the Google Docs. So if we see bruised, hurt, injured, wounded, mauled, etc., if you get all of your health levels filled with lethal, now technically that means you are you're like almost dead. Okay, so if you're incapacitated, if that health level is filled with if the incapacitated health level is filled either with bashing or lethal, you are incapable of movement and likely unconscious. So you basically got knocked out of the fight. If you take one more level of lethal damage, you're dead. But it is possible. Let's say Biff did exactly as enough damage to fill Fitch's health chart with lethal. Okay, so all the way up to incapacitated, but he didn't do any more than that. So in that case, Fitch would be like mortally wounded, laying on the ground, but he wouldn't be dead. But he would have lost the fight. So Biff has the option to finish him off if he wants. If you take like another level of lethal past incapacitated, that's what kills your character. Okay, so just being exactly at incapacitated is not enough to kill you, but it is enough to knock you out of the fight.
Is that true of bashing damage as well, or does it only...
It is true of bashing damage, yes. So if you're hitting somebody with bashing damage and they get full of incapacitated, that still means they're incapacitated. They're still unconscious. However, you
bash through those health levels again, and then...
Yes, if you keep hitting them, if you kept hitting them, those bashing levels would turn into lethal, and then you could kill them. So let me show you guys real quick before we break for tonight, and we're almost done. I wanted to show you guys how bashing converts into lethal damage. Okay, and so while we're actually on that, we'll bring that up. So we're going to erase Lady Foxton's injury.
Megon happens to be wielding a mace.
That's right. So bashing damage is put across like a slash. So if everyone's looking at Fitch the Footpad's health chart, let's say Fitch takes 4 levels of bashing damage. Okay, now you can soak bashing damage with your stamina. That's the part of the benefit of taking bashing damage versus lethal. However, bashing tends to go through armor better. So there's benefits and drawbacks to using bashing damage, but nonetheless, let's say Fitch he took 4 levels of bashing damage. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, that's what bashing damage looks like. It's a slash. Okay, if he takes 3 more levels of bashing damage, boom, 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 he's now unconscious because his incapacitated health level is filled. Let's say he's unconscious and Biff continues to hit him and he takes 4 more levels of bashing damage. Now this is what that looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's because it gets upgraded to lethal. Now, if we're in a situation, guys, where it's just Biff and just the cutthroat, once Fitch has lost the fight, you don't need to roll additional attacks. Unless, of course, there's a third combatant who might want to stop you. Okay? So let's say you're in a combat situation where 2 guys are attacking you and you're by yourself. You knock out one of the guys with your hammer and you want to keep hitting him and his buddy wants to save him. So that is the situation where you have to keep hitting him in order to kill him. Otherwise, if it's just you 2 in a fight and you knock him out with your hammer, you can consider to have killed him. You don't even have to roll dice. You can just post yourself caving his head in or doing what you're going to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if you're on a one-on-one duel situation with somebody and you win with bashing damage, while you would normally, if there was an extra combatant, keep rolling. If you wanted to kill that person, you would not have to.
Right, exactly. Because the fight's over. He can't defend himself, and there's no other combatants that can protect him. So he's essentially at your mercy. Now, there is one rule I want to bring up, and I may have forgotten about this rule during the course of the fight. It's kind of an easy rule to forget. It's called the dazed rule. Dazed is a complication that happens during a fight. Basically, if you ever suffer health levels and damage that is one higher than your stamina, you are considered dazed. Okay, so what that means is you have to spend your next turn shaking off the attack. You cannot do anything except shake off the attack. So basically, you lose your next turn to your opponent if you take more health levels and damage than your stamina. And this is after soak. Okay, so for example, if we look at Fitch, he's got a stamina of 2. That's kind of average, but if he got hit with an attack that did 3 levels of damage in one hit and he didn't soak it, and he took 3 levels of damage, he would be dazed. He would lose his next turn because he got hit so hard and his stamina wasn't enough to protect him from the blow. So he loses his next turn. And that's why stamina is just as important in combat as strength and dexterity. It's not just for soaking bashing damage. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent, guys. Does anybody have any questions as we finished an intrigue scene, we finished a combat scene? Does anybody have anything they'd like to ask?
Yes. Is it Fitch or bitch?
It's well, I think it's bitch because he's got his head removed from his shoulders. Rest in peace, Fitch. You fought the good fight, buddy. Now, as a like epilogue to that story, Lady Foxton still has 5 levels of lethal damage. She's gonna have to spend time recovering that. And recovery times are noted on the website. You can help cut your recovery times in half with healing that you receive from a maester. If a maester tries to heal you and he botches this roll, he can actually make your injuries worse. So you can actually, theoretically, you could die from medical treatment. But that's how it goes sometimes. Sometimes he makes your situation worse, but he has to botch. So it's unlikely, but it can happen.
Are there going to be NPC maesters? Since not all the houses have maesters.
Yes, there are. And that's going to be covered in the house and land system when we come out with it. Every house is going to have the option of purchasing a maester for their house. And I think everybody should. I would advise everyone to. Because maesters are very useful.
A question. So, Tyrell has a PC'd maester written into it. If somebody does pick up that role and they're there, are we allowed to... If we don't end up in a maester, are we allowed to use him when he's not there? Or does he have to be there to roll?
I would say he has to be there to roll, but that it's not at like a life like you're not bleeding to death. It's not a situation where Lady Foxton, even though she has 5 levels of lethal, she's gonna bleed to death. Unless of course we're talking like axe fighting, which is different. I think you take 1 additional level of lethal damage on your next turn, but it doesn't really apply to your character because you're a non-combatant. I mean, theoretically it could, but if the combat's over and you've taken 5 levels of lethal damage, yeah, you're maimed, you're really hurt, but you're in no danger of losing your character. You could just, role play with the maester next time and as they're healing you.
But if you were on mauled, which is, I believe, the last one before lethal. No, it's before crippled. So if you were on crippled, and you were with someone who had axe fighting, And
yes, the next round you would be incapacitated, so you'd be knocked out.
So even if technically you lost, it would end up in a draw. You would both be knocked out.
Yeah, but then we look at, who are the non-combatants that are around. Lady Foxton is still standing, technically. So Biff is sort of the winner, sort of.
In a sense.
In a sense, yeah.
Mag's just casually lying on the street bleeding. She goes, well, I guess I should get back to my house now.
Right.
I'll send help.
You've done your duty, Biff. She limps off.
The random assassin jumps out of the street, kills her.
On an entirely separate note, how like creeped out do you think people who have teleported into the middle of this without being in our Discord are? Like some girl just stood there for like 3 minutes, was like, "What's going on here?"
I really am on the wrong side. I'm standing with all of the Valyrians, and everyone else from Westeros is over on that side of the room. I feel kind of like odd man out over here.
One of us.
Fair.
One of us.
Probably terrified. What are you talking about?
Well, technically, you are like basically Valerian because like half brother of Aegon and all. Well, not you, but your ancestor.
Yeah, my grandfather.
Your grandfather was Targaryen.
Yeah, or his one hand, the King's Stump. That fuckwad. I mean, great man.
Okay, so
I mean, good guy.
I would
Dear
like.
Dad, are you better now? Is this okay?
I would like to do a combat demo.
Yeah.
Just for my own purposes, so I can practice doing this with someone using my life stats and someone using
that's totally fine.
their life stats.
Megan, you want to go?
Let us.
Ooh, getting called out.
No, you can't have him.
I mean, you'll probably kill me. I am not a combat. I'm more of a Tywin, less of a Jaime. So, I'll
Got called out.
I'm more of a Sansa, so.
Yeah, you guys have fun. If you want to hang out in the landing zone and do some mock combat, that's totally fine. I want to thank everybody for coming to the demo, though. Like, thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. I think it'll be really helpful to you when we start role playing, because, like, technically, as soon as you get approved, you can start role playing right away. We are going to continue to improve people throughout the weekend. We're going to have another demo tomorrow at noon. So anybody who wants to come to that one is more than welcome. If you feel like, especially if you got the time and you didn't feel like you got it here, please go ahead. Feel free. And thank you so much for coming out, guys. I really appreciate it.
I mean,